Chapter 173. As soon as Captain Wang's voice fell, a group of people walked in from the entrance. Lin Jun and the rest also turned around to look. The one at the front was a man in his late 20s. He had a sinister face and an aquiline nose. Li Changjing's face changed when he saw this person. Zhou Budong is back. Oh, so this is Zhou Budong. He doesn't look simple. Lin Jun could clearly feel a powerful aura coming from this person. This was a Dantian Qi condensation 5th stage expert. Zhou Budong was the actual leader of the hive and also the leader of the East group. But he spent very little time in the hive. Most of his time was spent in the Sky group. Only when something big happened in the hive would he come back to take a look. For example, when Li Changjing and a group of Northwest martial artists challenged the East group, it was Zhou Budong who came back to settle the matter and completely suppressed Li Changjing. When the surrounding people saw Zhou Budong come back, they all showed a respectful expression and made way for him. But when Zhou Budong came in, he did not walk in front. Instead, he looked around and deliberately paused on Lin Jun's face for a moment before revealing a contemptuous sneer. Then he stepped aside and gestured for the people behind him to enter. Behind Zhou Budong, 4 people came in. The first person had white hair and was wearing a gray robe. Although he was young, he looked like an old man. The second person was wearing a black robe and had long black hair. His appearance was very rough, and his eyes flashed with a kind of arrogance. The third person was a relatively thin and weak martial artist. He was not tall and looked a little malnourished. He had a smile on his face, but it gave people the feeling that it was a fake smile. The last person was a female martial artist. She was wearing an ice blue dress. Her appearance was not bad, but her face was as cold as ice. She looked to be around 25 or 26 years old. Seeing these 4 people, Li Changjing's face suddenly changed. Her hand tightly gripped the shaft of her spear. Lin Jun was right beside her, so he could clearly feel her anger. Changjing, what's wrong? It's the celestial 4 gods again. These 4 damn bastards. Last time, I teamed up with a Northwestern martial school, and there were even some seniors from the previous martial school. We teamed up to challenge Zhou Budong, and in the end, we were defeated by these 4. They actually came again today. Is it these 4 people? The 4 celestial gods? Did they come from the celestial dome? Lin Jun looked at these 4 people and could clearly feel the energy fluctuations coming from their bodies. These 4 people also had the intention to show off. They had released their Dantian Qi pressure the moment they arrived, gaining the upper hand by a show of strength. These 4 people were all experts who had compressed their Dantian Qi to the 6th layer. Moreover, they were definitely geniuses. With Lin Jun's eyesight, he could easily tell that these 4 people were not ordinary. Li Changjing continued. These 4 people are all from the capital city. They came to the stellar fruit tree together with the current Sky King, the little overlord Yufeng. They could be said to be Yu Feng's best friends. After entering the stellar fruit tree, they have been working together with Yu Feng until they finally ruled the Celestial Dome. In the Celestial Dome, the little overlord Yu Feng is the one and only king. 8 layers of Dantian Qi compression made him invincible. Under Yu Feng is a woman from the capital city's Church of Divine Grace called Yilan Shan. This woman is also not simple. 7 layers of Dantian Qi compression. She and Yu Feng had fought for 2 years in the stellar fruit tree. However, in the end, Yu Feng won and Yilan Shan became his assistant. She can be considered the number 2 person in the Celestial Dome. Lin Jun listened and nodded. He knew a little about these things. Yilan Shan was Su Mingyue's senior sister and was also a candidate for saintess. However, in the end, Su Mingyue's master, the Church of Divine Grace's Church of Divine Grace, chose Su Mingyue to be the saintess. Yilan Shan came to the stellar fruit tree a few years ago and was now in the Celestial Dome. She was also the one who took Su Mingyue away. Li Changjing continued. In the Celestial Dome, besides Yu Feng and Yilan Shan, there are 4 people in front of you. They are the Celestial Dome's 4 gods. They have been teaming up with Yu Feng and are very strong. Each of them has absorbed a special stellar crystal. As she spoke, Li Changjing pointed to the first gray-robed martial artist. This person is called Hua Tsangtian. a spirit reader master. He has also absorbed a special stellar crystal that contains wind energy. He is very strong. At that time, I was defeated by him. Within 3 moves, I was knocked out of the arena. Lin Jun's expression suddenly became solemn. To defeat Li Changjing in 3 moves, this person's strength was simply unfathomable. The second black-robed man is called Li Xuanqiang. Like me, he was born with great strength and speed. Moreover, he has also absorbed a strength-type stellar crystal. His strength has far exceeded the limit of a warlord. Even an ordinary warlord can't compare to him. In the past, a martial arts master of the Northwest Army was crippled by him with a single punch. The third skinny guy is called Zhang Sihai. He is born with great speed and has also absorbed a speed stellar crystal. His speed has reached an unimaginable level. No one can compare with his speed. He is the king of speed. The last woman is called Dong Shinkai. She is also a spirit reader master. Legend has it that among the celestial dome's 4 gods, she is the strongest. However, in the last battle, she didn't even make a move. The first 3 people had already defeated us. I don't know her specific strength, but she has definitely absorbed a special stellar crystal. Lin Jun muttered softly. Huatsang Tian, Li Xuanqiang, Zhang Sihai, Dong Shunkai, the celestial dome's 4 gods. They are all martial artists of the 6th stage of compression. We are in trouble this time. Zhao Xiaoman also walked over. Big Brother Lin, we have already challenged them, but they brought this group of people. What should we do? No wonder team leader Wang of the 3rd group hasn't made a move these few days. It turns out that he was already prepared and deliberately waited for us to jump into the pit. Needless to say, this must be Zhou Budong's doing behind the scenes. He wants us to stay in West Team 4 and not let us make a move, Zhang Huai added. Lu Qingfeng added, I have also heard of the Celestial Dome's 4 gods. They belong to the top echelon of the stellar fruit tree. Is it worth it for them to deliberately suppress us instead of cultivating in Celestial Dome? Hearing Lu Qingfeng's words, Lin Jun's heart suddenly skipped a beat. That's right. Why would the Celestial Dome's 4 gods accept Zhou Butong's invitation and deliberately come over to suppress them? Would Zhou Budong have such great influence? No, this shouldn't be the Celestial Dome's 4 gods' idea. It should be little tyrant Yu Feng's idea. Yu Feng wanted to deal with him. Although he didn't know why Yu Feng didn't come personally, Lin Jun suddenly thought of this point. Yu Feng wanted him to stay here forever and not be able to improve or at least suppress him for a year or 2. And he needed this period of time. Su Mingwei. Su Mingyue's name flashed across Lin Jun's mind. Yu Feng liked Su Mingwei and wanted to marry her. It would probably happen in about half a year. If he didn't improve in half a year, then he wouldn't be able to threaten Yu Feng. At that time, Yu Feng might really succeed. It could be imagined that the Celestial Dome's 4 gods' goal in West 3rd Group was to prevent Lin Jun and the others from obtaining any star crystals. They would never be able to improve and would be stuck here forever, unable to improve their cultivation. They didn't want to stay here forever. Perhaps half a year would be enough because Yi Lanshan didn't have much time left in the stellar fruit tree. As long as Yi Lanshan left, no one would be able to protect Su Mingwei. With the appearance of the Celestial Dome's 4 gods, Lin Jun quickly figured out the cause and effect of this matter. Yu Feng, you're ruthless. Lin Jun looked at the Celestial Dome's direction and clenched his fists. At this time, Zhou Butong walked in front of Li Changjing and Lin Jun. He first looked at Li Changjing with contempt. Kid from the Northwest, I told you before. As long as I, Zhou Butong, am in the hive, you won't be able to do anything. You think you can do whatever you want just because you found a few new teammates? You're too naive. According to the challenge rules, you can only advance and not retreat. You'll stay in West 3rd Group forever. I promise you, from today onwards, you won't get a single star crystal. Li Changjing stared at Zhou Butong. Zhou Butong, back then, it was us from the Northwest who challenged you because you drew too many star crystals. This has nothing to do with my teammates. Why are you doing this? If you're unhappy with me, then just come me alone. Ha ha! Don't think too highly of yourself. If it's just you, it's really not worth it for me to make such a big fuss. This time, I want to talk to this brother. As he spoke, Zhou Budong looked at Lin Jun. You're Lin Jun? That's right. During the time I wasn't here, you've been jumping around quite happily. What's wrong? Are you still thinking of improving your strength and then going to the Celestial Dome to save your beautiful friend? Huh. If you have something to say it quickly. We're about to start the competition. What's the hurry? I can tell you clearly that you have no hope. Do you see the four behind me? From today onwards, they'll be stationed in the hive. As long as they're here, your team will have no hope. From now on, you'll just watch others collect star crystals until the day that girl gets married. Ha ha! Lin Jun's expression was normal. They're not invincible. Oomph. You're really a frog at the bottom of a well. Don't you know the strength of the Celestial Dome, four gods? But you'll soon experience it. In fact, this matter can't be blamed on you. You didn't offend the little tyrant, but a man's wealth is his own ruin. A woman like Saintess Sue, only the little tyrant is worthy of her. The difference between you and the little tyrant is like the difference between a tall, rich, and handsome man. You'd better realize this point clearly. So I advise you to stop your wishful thinking. Maybe this way, you'll be able to walk out of the starfruit tree alive. After speaking, Zhou Budong turned to the Celestial Dome, four gods, and said, Then I'll have to trouble the four of you. You don't have to worry about anything. Just guard Shi-San Group. You'll have people to take care of you. I'll be returning to the Celestial Dome, four gods. The Celestial Dome, four gods, only nodded slightly. They didn't put Zhou Budong in their eyes. Zhou Budong didn't think there was anything wrong with it either. He glared at Lin Jun and Li Changjing, then turned and left the arena without a moment's hesitation. After Zhou Budong left, Tong Huan walked out. She impatiently said to Lin Jun and the others, Do you still want to compete or not? If you don't want to compete, just admit defeat. Chapter 174. Hearing Lin Jun's words, a commotion broke out. Is Lin Jun crazy? The difference in strength is so big. How is he going to fight? Stupid, too stupid. He knows he can't win, but he still wants to fight. Sigh, it's over. I thought Lin Jun and the others were going to rise, but Boss Zhou just moved his finger and suppressed them. They probably won't be able to rise again. Lin Jun and the others are too strong. Boss Zhou is worried that it will affect his position. What? Didn't you hear what Boss Zhou said? The little tyrant has his eyes on Lin Jun's girlfriend. This is the little tyrant's idea. He wants to suppress Lin Jun and make his girlfriend give up. No way. The little tyrant is doing this for a woman? Oomph. You don't know this, but she's not an ordinary woman. Not only is she beautiful, but she's also the holy maiden of the divine sect. Her position is supreme. Whoever marries her will be blessed. The commotion also affected the people in Lin Jun's team. Lu Qingfeng was the first to speak. Boss Lin, there's no point in continuing this battle, right? Zhao Xiaoman nodded. We'll definitely lose, but I'll listen to Big Brother Lin. Lin Jun looked at Jiang Huai and Li Changjing. What do you guys think? Jiang Huai shrugged. You're the boss. We'll listen to you, but I don't think it's necessary. Li Changjing let out a long breath. It's not that I don't want to look down on us, but we have no chance of winning against the four gods of Sky Dome. We can't even win a single battle, including you, Boss Lin. Seeing the low morale of the team, Lin Jun stood up. You're all right. We can't win, but I think we have to fight this battle. Why? Several people asked Lin Jun at the same time. The reason is very simple. We can't stay here forever. As long as we want to move forward, we will have to fight the four gods of Celestial Vault sooner or later. If we don't even have the courage to fight now, then it will leave a psychological shadow in our hearts in the future. We will think that we will never be a match for them. With this kind of thinking, how can we pursue martial arts? The few of them looked at each other in dismay. At first, they looked ashamed, but then their expressions became firm again. Lin Jun suddenly turned around and pointed at the four heavenly gods. Them. That's our goal. Defeating them is our motivation. Today, let's see how strong they are. Good. Big Brother Lin, you're right. Let's fight them. Zhao Xiaoman was the first to voice her support. Li Changjing's black face turned a little red. I'm still not good enough. Boss Lin, you're right. When facing a strong enemy, you can't be afraid. Otherwise, you'll stop moving forward. Jiang Huai cupped his fists at Lin Jun. My idol is my idol. I've learned my lesson. Lu Qingfeng's expression was even more resolute. Mother asterisk cur. F asterisk CK. I'm not afraid, even if I lose. As long as I don't die, I'll try again. At this time, Lin Jun and the rest announced the order of appearance. Lin Jun and the rest quickly decided. The first to go up was Lin Jun, the second was Jiang Huai, the third was Li Chengjing, the fourth was Lu Qingfeng, and the last was Zhao Xiaoman. Lin Jun was the first to go up the stage. Below, Jiang Huai and the rest still had a trace of anticipation in their hearts. The opponent's team also had 5 people. Other than the 4 heavenly gods, the team leader was still that Captain Wang. Although he was still the team leader, in reality, he was already a puppet. If Lin Jun met him, he should be able to win. However, things didn't go as planned. The first person to go up was actually Dong Xinkai. Li Chengjing's expression changed. This is bad. Dong Xinkai is the #1 expert of the 4 heavenly gods. Boss Lin is in danger now. Please don't lose too badly. Zhao Xiaoman heard this and became nervous. Is this woman the #1 expert? But when the 4 heavenly gods came last time, I didn't see her fight. That's because she didn't even bother to fight because the other 3 were enough to deal with us. She probably didn't do anything last time. This time, she's going up first. She's planning to take us down in 3 rounds. Big brother Lin, be careful. Zhao Xiaoman shouted from below. Lin Jun nodded at her and walked up the stage. Dong Xinkai stood there and watched Lin Jun walk up step by step. When Lin Jun was in front of her, she sized up Lin Jun for a while. Then, she smiled and said, not bad, but you're still far from being a match for Su Mingwei. Whether or not we're a match isn't up to you. Lin Jun, the reason I'm going up first is because of you. I thought you would be the first to come up, so I'm here to teach you a lesson. I'll let you know how big the gap is between you and the Overlord. Martial artists are all about strength. If you don't have strength, don't think about people you can never reach. So you think you'll win? Victory is certain, but victory alone is not enough. Lin Jun, 1 minute. If you can last 1 minute under my hands, I'll consider you a character. Otherwise, you can give up forever. Dong Xinkai raised a finger and looked at Lin Jun contemptuously. Lin Jun took a deep breath. He knew that this was a psychological attack. She would belittle you and make you worthless. Under impulse, you wouldn't be able to fully display your strength. Dong Xinkai looked like she was looking down on him, but she actually valued him. Lin Jun raised his hand, and a bright silver spear appeared in his hand. No matter who you are, since you're on the stage, we're enemies. Don't talk so much nonsense. Let's start. Let's start. You don't even have the ability to touch me, little brother. Dong Xinkai's tone became more contemptuous. Is that so? Then let's try. Lin Jun jumped and rushed towards Dong Xinkai. His spear shot out torrential rain. The bright silver spear flashed, and thousands of spear lights completely enveloped Dong Xinkai. Flashy but impractical, Dong Xinkai said. She suddenly attacked with her long sword. It was a simple slash, but it was incomparably sharp. The spear's shadows that filled the sky suddenly disappeared. People saw that Lin Jun's long spear was in front of him, blocking Dong Xinkai's sword. Not bad again. Dong Xinkai still didn't move. Long River. Lin Jun's spear was broken, but he didn't move at all. His long spear rolled, and waves filled the sky. Dong Xinkai took Lin Jun's sword head-on. She was about to ridicule him, but Lin Jun's second wave had already arrived. After blocking the second wave, the third wave came crashing down like an endless tide. Shameless boasting. Let's see how many waves of my long river you can take. Lin Jun's Dantian Qi erupted. His aura rose like a huge wave, which was more than 10 meters high, and smashed down overwhelmingly. When it came to the 17th wave, Dong Xinkai's face finally changed. This kid's spear technique is not simple. If I keep defending, I might really make a fool of myself. But it's time to stop. Suddenly, Dong Xinkai moved. She attacked with her second long sword. Holding 2 swords, she actually found a flaw in Lin Jun's long river and quickly rushed forward. The next scene was the collision of sword light and spear shadows. Sparks splashed out like raindrops, which lasted for a full 10 seconds. Both of them had attacked thousands of times. When the light dissipated, Dong Shinkai retreated with her two swords behind her back. On Lin Jun's shoulder, there was a huge wound dripping with blood. Lin Jun, your defense is very strong. It's beyond my expectations. But it's only been 30 seconds. Do you think you still have a chance? Lin Jun didn't care about the wound on his shoulder at all. Instead, he sneered. That's not necessarily true. You didn't take much advantage of me. As he spoke, Lin Jun waved his hand at Dong Shinkai. Suddenly, blood splashed out from her earlobe. When did this happen? Dong Shinkai covered her ear in disbelief. When did Lin Jun hit here? Just now, but the battle was too intense. The wound was small, so you didn't feel it. Dong Shinkai, as a woman, you should act like a woman. Seeing that you're too tough, I'll give you a hole in your ear. You can wear earrings in the future. You don't have to thank me. Lin Jun's chest kept heaving up and down, but in his heart, he thought that this woman was really amazing. The compressed 6-layer Dantian Chi was really not something that he could fight against right now. Regardless of strength or speed, this woman actually surpassed him. Although he could temporarily resist it with his immovable mountain, it was inevitable that he would lose in the end. Such a small hole was exchanged for by Lin Jun at the cost of a huge injury. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the chance to hurt Dong Shinkai. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from below the stage. Dong Shinkai was to blame for being too arrogant and making a fool of herself at this moment. Lin Jun, you've angered me, so prepare to suffer my wrath. The small hole, made by the gold, Chi magically disappeared. Dong Shinkai's face was as cold as ice. She no longer stood there pretending. Her eyes focused, and she actually launched a mental attack at Lin Jun. The two of them raised their heads almost at the same time. Lin Jun was somewhat unprepared, and Dong Shinkai didn't expect the backlash to be so strong. Almost at the same time, they both felt dizzy, but at the same time, Dong Shinkai's eyes revealed a trace of horror, but her movements were not slow at all. She pointed at Lin Jun, and a white chi was released. The temperature in the air suddenly dropped a lot, and an ice blade appeared out of thin air, fiercely cutting towards Lin Jun. Whoosh! Before the ice blade arrived, a layer of frost had already condensed on Lin Jun's hair. The temperature of the ice blade, wrapped in white chi, was terrifyingly low. No wonder this woman is so cold. It turns out that she has absorbed a cold attribute star crystal. This is troublesome. Lin Jun barely dodged the ice blade, but the surface of his body was covered with a layer of white. Moreover, a second ice blade appeared on the other side. Lin Jun, don't try to struggle. Within the range of my ice blade, the cold chi will penetrate into your bone marrow. Within 30 seconds, you will be frozen into an ice sculpture. How can you resist? Lin Jun's body appeared with a mental power barrier, but it was shattered in front of the ice blade. The power of this ice blade was inconceivably strong. Chapter 175. As soon as Dong Shinkai's ice blades appeared, Lin Jun knew that he couldn't win this battle. Lin Jun simply gave up on defending and concentrated all his strength on the bright silver spear. At the same time, the 5 spears flew into the air and intercepted the opponent's ice blades. He rushed towards Dong Shinkai with all his strength. The spear turned bright gold, and its sharpness caused the space to tremble slightly. Lin Jun's body was covered with a layer of frost, but he rushed forward without hesitation. Dong Shinkai was like an ice cellar. Cold air constantly spewed out from her every movement. The 2 swords in her hands didn't stop, and she attacked Lin Jun fiercely. Attack against attack. After a violent shock, the cold air disappeared, and Lin Jun's body flew out of the ring. His whole body was white, and there were several wounds on his chest. Landing on the ground meant defeat. However, Lin Jun didn't fall down. He moved his arms and removed the layer of frost on his body. Then, he faced Dong Shinkai and said, "Thank you for your advice. We will fight again." After speaking, Lin Jun walked back to his team. In the ring, Dong Shinkai's face was also green. Finally, under everyone's gaze, one of her arms began to bleed. It was a wound caused by Lin Jun's spear. The wound was so deep that the bone could be seen. White cold air gushed out, and the wound immediately stopped bleeding. Dong Shunkai slowly walked down the ring. At this time, Captain Wang walked over and said, "Miss Dong, you are really amazing. You defeated Lin Jun in 3 minutes." "Get lost." Dong Shunkai coldly spat out a word. Captain Wang was suddenly speechless. The battle ended, and the crowd was in an uproar. Sure enough, I was right. Lin Jun lost. Everyone knows that he can't win. Do you still need to say that? However, I don't think Lin Jun has lost. That woman's Dantian Qi has been compressed to the 6th stage, and she has also absorbed a special astral crystal. For Lin Jun to be able to fight to this extent is already very impressive. He is only at the 1st stage of compression. If Lin Jun can reach the 4th stage of compression, I definitely think Lin Jun will win. I think so too, but Lin Jun probably won't have a chance. In the future, the 3rd group will be in front of him, and he won't be able to obtain star crystals. How will he improve? Boss Zhou's move is too ruthless. He directly cut off his opponent's escape route. Lin Jun returned to the group and sat down. He took out some medicine and consumed it. Fortunately, he had robbed Brother Wang's spatial ring. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to treat his injuries. Zhao Xiaoman asked with concern, "Brother Lin, how are you?" "Fortunately, it's not a big deal. It's all superficial wounds. I'll be fine after resting for 10 days or half a month." Jiang Huai walked over and gave Lin Jun a thumbs up. "I'm impressed. Boss Lin is indeed my idol. I might not even last a minute if I went up." Li Changjing continued, "Half a minute is enough. This woman is even stronger than Hua Sangtian." Lin Jun took a deep breath. "Who's next? Go." Jiang Huai tidied his clothes and got up to the stage. The second person to go up was Li Xuanqiang. Under Lin Jun's encouragement, Jiang Huai was not afraid of Li Xuanqiang. Although the two of them were suppressed by Li Xuanqiang, they still lasted for 2 minutes before being defeated. Moreover, they only suffered light injuries. After that, Li Changjing went up and faced Hua Sangtian again. This time, Li Changjing's performance was much better than before. With some preparation, Hua Sangtian was not able to defeat Li Changjing in 3 moves. They fought for 2 minutes. Now the score was 3-0. Lin Jun's team had lost the challenge. Tong Huan was about to announce the result, but Lin Jun's team insisted on fighting. Lu Qingfeng went up to the stage. Facing Zhang Sihai, Lu Qingfeng fully utilized his advantage as a spirit reader. The two of them fought for 1.5 minutes before Lu Qingfeng was defeated because of the difference in strength. Zhao Xiaoman also went up to the stage. Her opponent was the original team leader. This battle was not that different. Zhao Xiaoman fought with team leader Wang for a full 5 minutes before losing due to a mistake. After going down the stage, Zhao Xiaoman pouted, "Next time, I will cultivate properly. I will definitely defeat him in half a year." At this point, Lin Jun's team's challenge ended in failure. However, the 4 gods of Tianqiong's team were not very happy, especially when the number 1 expert, Dong Xunkai, was injured in the battle with Lin Jun. This cast a shadow over their victory. Zhang Sihai said to Dong Xunkai, who had an ugly expression, "Xunkai, you don't have to be too depressed. Lin Jun is their number 1 expert after all. Moreover, he only lasted for 3 minutes against you. He is far from being your opponent." Dong Xunkai said coldly, "It's true that Lin Jun is no match for me now, but if he's given time to grow, I think he'll surpass me in a year." "This is easy. What are we here for? Isn't it to keep Lin Jun's team in check? We don't even need a year." Half a year later, Yilan Shan will have no choice but to leave the stellar fruit tree. At that time, our mission will be completed. Without Yilan Shan's restraint, not only will the great conqueror be able to win the beauty back, he will also be able to personally take action. At that time, Lin Jun will definitely die. Hua Sangtian added, "Indeed, although their team has good potential, they have yet to mature. As long as we firmly hold the 3rd position, they will not be able to take a step forward. They will also not be able to obtain a star crystal. After half a year, even if they don't disband, they will become ordinary people. Dong Shinkai nodded. All right, we will stay here for half a year. At that time, we will have completed the Great Conqueror's mission. However, at that time, there will be no need for the Great Conqueror to take action. I will personally take care of Lin Jun. After Lin Jun's team was defeated, they did not appear in the hive for many days. Everyone was recuperating in the tree hollow. After an entire week, the fifth-ranked team seemed to have seen an opportunity. They brazenly challenged Lin Jun's fourth team and chose the team battle. This time, Lin Jun led his team to appear. Although their injuries were not completely healed, the battle took less than a minute, and they swept all the challengers off the stage. At this time, those people who were speaking sarcastically all shut their mouths. Lin Jun's team was indeed unable to defeat the four celestial gods. However, it was still effortless for them to take care of the lower-ranked teams. If anyone thought that they were pushovers, they would be gravely mistaken. In fact, during this week, Lin Jun had not been idle. Every day, he would recuperate during the day. At night, he would still go out to collect star crystals. However, it was useless to go out during the day. With the four celestial gods blocking the third team, Lin Jun's team would not be able to obtain any star crystals. His teammates no longer had a source of star crystals. This made it impossible for Lin Jun to get preferential treatment by himself. Instead, he began to distribute star crystals to his teammates. However, Lin Jun did not directly give them stellar crystals. Instead, he had Brother Guang and the ant nest send over some planet crystals every day and mix them with a few stellar crystals. This greatly surprised Jiang Huai and the others. They did not know how Lin Jun could make Brother Guang so obedient. However, with star crystals to absorb, they could not care less. However, the days of the martial artists in the hive were not so good. Every morning, when they went to the hive, they would discover that there were only 1 or 2 stellar crystals. This made them feel very strange. They even thought that something had happened inside the hive. Because no one could go pick them at night, no one thought about it. After more than a month, Lin Jun's Dantian Qi compression finally reached the 4th layer. Besides him, Jiang Huai and Li Qingjing were also about to reach the 3rd layer. Lu Qingfeng had also completed the 1st layer, and Zhao Xiaoman was about to enter the 2nd layer. Lin Jun once again challenged the 4 celestial gods, which attracted a large number of people to watch. Both sides had a tacit understanding and did not even change the order of appearance. The result was the same. Lin Jun's team was defeated, and the time they lasted did not change. The only difference was that Lin Jun's team was not injured this time. After this failure, Lin Jun seemed to be very depressed. He left with his team members dejectedly. It was obvious that he had lost his confidence. The crowd was somewhat bored and left. It seemed that Lin Jun's team had not improved in the past month. There was no point in watching anymore. When they returned to the tree hole, Zhao Xiaoman was somewhat puzzled and asked, "Big Brother Lin, you allowed us to challenge again this time, but we are not allowed to go all out. The only requirement is that we do not get injured. What's the point of doing this?" Lin Jun smiled. "This way, people will think that we should give up completely and no one will pay attention to you. You should know that in a few days, all of you will have a breakthrough. If you don't keep a low profile, you will definitely be discovered by people with ill intentions." "Then what should we do next?" Lu Qingfeng asked. "Stay here. Don't go out and don't see anyone. Just cultivate honestly. Let people think that you are waiting for the 4 celestial gods to leave and for me to return." "Big Brother Lin, you are leaving? Where are you going?" Zhao Xiaoman asked in surprise. Although she could no longer go to the hive, she still had Brother Guang to send her star crystals every day. She felt that these days were quite good. Her cultivation speed was not slow at all. In another year or so, she might be able to defeat the 4 celestial gods. Lin Jun thought for a moment. "I'm going out for a walk. I might be back in a few days. You don't have to worry." The team members did not say anything else. Lin Jun was a competent team leader. They did not want to interfere with Lin Jun's actions. Lin Jun did not want to leave on the spur of the moment. There were 2 reasons why he wanted to leave. First, as he said, he would attract attention if he continued to stay in the beehive. This way, if he left, no one would pay attention to how his teammates were doing. At most, he would quietly come back at night to pick up the star crystals. It would not affect his progress in cultivation. Second, Lin Jun could not afford to waste time with the four celestial gods. Although Lin Jun was confident that he could defeat the four celestial gods in half a year, could he wait for half a year? If he really waited for half a year, Su Mingwei would definitely be in trouble. Lin Jun's life would also be in danger. Even if he defeated the four celestial gods, he would not be able to defeat the little overlord Yufeng. Therefore, he had to leave. Moreover, he already had a goal. Chapter 176. Lin Jun had been paying attention to Tang Yu's situation for a long time, but the locator showed that Tang Yu had entered Sky Dome a long time ago. Lin Jun was a little depressed. If Tang Yu had obtained a special star crystal in Sky Dome, then he really couldn't stop him. If he had known this would happen, he would have killed this person back then. However, just yesterday, Lin Jun discovered that Tang Yu had left Sky Dome and was currently heading east of the starfruit tree. Calculating the actual distance, he wasn't too far away from the honeycomb. At this time, Lin Jun had a feeling that it was very likely that Tang Yu had obtained the special star crystal at this stage and learned the telekinetic teleportation technique. Therefore, Lin Jun made up his mind to leave immediately. After briefly informing his teammates, Lin Jun walked out of the tree hole. As soon as he came out of the tree hole, he happened to meet Captain Wang of West Group 3. Although this fellow acted like a grandson when he was with the four celestial gods, the four celestial gods did not treat him unfairly. Their group had basically snatched all the star crystals in the west side. Sometimes they would even give him some benefits. This allowed his cultivation speed to become even faster than before. Among the ordinary warriors, Captain Wang actually started to tremble. Every day, many people would compliment him and surround him. Therefore, when he saw Lin Jun, Captain Wang said proudly, "Yo, look who this is. Isn't this the captain of the genius team, Lin Jun? Why haven't I seen your group appear in the west side recently?" Immediately, a warrior next to him said, "Don't you understand? What's the use of him going there? He can't even get a single star crystal. It's a waste of effort even if he goes there. He might as well stay in the tree hole and be a coward." Lin Jun, we're both honeycomb warriors. I still have to advise you. Why don't you use your brain? If you can't survive in the west, why don't you come to the east and challenge again? You'll at least gain something every day. If you just sit there and eat, how can you improve? Oh, that's not right. You don't even have a mountain, so you can't eat anything even if you want to. You can only drink the northwest wind. Ha! Captain Wang coldly snorted and said, "It's useless for him to change locations. The four gods said that they would kill Lin Jun here. If he goes east, the four gods will go east. If he doesn't go, the four gods won't move. Let's see what else he can do. Then it's over. Lin Jun, why don't you go back to the ant nest and get some planetary crystals every day? That's better than nothing. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to compress a few more layers of Dantian Qi in 8 or 10 years. Don't you think what I said makes sense?" Looking at the people in front of him, Lin Jun's face turned cold. "If you keep talking nonsense, do you believe that I won't kill you immediately? You dare? Aren't you afraid of the four gods?" Captain Wang shivered in fear. Before Lin Jun could reply, Dong Xinkai appeared. As soon as she came over, the surrounding temperature dropped by several degrees. "Miss Dong, this Lin Jun is too rude. How dare he disrespect the four gods? I'm teaching him a lesson. I'm helping you slap." Before Captain Wang could finish, Dong Xinkai slapped him hard across the face and sent him to the ground. "Miss Dong, you..." Captain Wang looked at Dong Xinkai in disbelief. Weren't they supposed to be on the same side? The battle between the four gods and Lin Jun is our business. It's not something you clowns can get involved in. If anyone dares to harass us again, I'll kill him immediately. Get out." Captain Wang led a few people and ran away, rolling and crawling. Lin Jun looked at Dong Xinkai and asked, "Why did you do that?" "Nothing. I just don't like petty people." "Lin Jun, are you leaving?" "I'm going out for a walk." "There's no point in staying here," Lin Jun replied. "All right then. I would do the same if I were you. The stellar fruit tree is huge. There might be a chance outside, but don't think too much. You won't have a chance." "Is that so?" I like to try. All right, I'll wait for you to come back. Then, I'll take your life, Dong Shunkai said and left slowly. Lin Jun looked at her back. Although this woman was cold, she wasn't a petty person. She wasn't a bad person either. Lin Jun didn't stay in the hive any longer. He got up and left. Walking out of the hive, Lin Jun took out the GPS and looked in Tang Yu's direction. He realized that Tang Yu was getting closer to the east. She would be at the edge of the stellar fruit tree in another 10 kilometers. What's this guy doing at the edge? I don't care anymore. Let's go check it out. Lin Jun stepped on the shield and rose into the air. With his current strength, there were almost no insects in the stellar fruit tree that he was afraid of. He could fly around freely. After rising into the air, Lin Jun held the GPS and went straight to the east where Tang Yu was. He hadn't come out for a long time. The outside world was still the same. There were branches and leaves everywhere. There hadn't been any changes. However, when Lin Jun came out, he felt that the sky was a little dark. There was even a mist in the forest, as if it was going to rain. Because of the height, there wasn't much rain in the stellar fruit tree. Only when the cumulonimbus clouds were high would there be raindrops. Moreover, the raindrops wouldn't be very heavy because there were leaves everywhere. It was difficult for the rain to fall. It was said that if one wanted to feel the rain, they would have to go to the edge of the stellar fruit tree. Could Tang Yu be there to see the rain? Lin Jun shook his head. This guess wasn't reliable. Lin Jun sped up and flew. Now that he was at the dark old stage, his psychic power was enough to support him flying for a long time. Occasionally, there would be a bug that didn't know what to do, and Lin Jun would kill it with a single shot. If it wasn't a valuable crystal, he wouldn't collect it. After flying for 2 hours, it was almost noon. Lin Jun looked at the GPS again. He was less than a kilometer away from Tang Yu. Lin Jun's speed slowed down slightly as he looked around. He was close to the edge of the stellar fruit tree. Occasionally, he could see a trace of sunlight. The outer area was covered in large leaves. These leaves were very corrosive and could automatically sense approaching things. No one dared to approach. After flying slowly for a while, Lin Jun heard voices. Tang Yu wasn't far away. Oh, it's not just Tang Yu. Lin Jun landed, put away his shield, and quietly approached Tang Yu. After lifting 2 leaves, there was an open area in front of him. This was the edge of the stellar fruit tree. 2 people. There were 2 people here. Lin Jun also saw Tang Yu, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. After 2 years, this kid seemed to have matured a little. He had also become more robust. Moreover, his realm had improved a lot. He had actually compressed his Dantian 4 times. This progress was even faster than Li Changjing and Jiang Huai. Looks like the Vault of Heaven is indeed a high source of star crystals. Tang Yu has improved so much. Tang Yu was still wearing the headband. He seemed to treasure it a lot. However, he didn't know that there was a small, soft metal needle hidden in the headband, exposing his position. There was another person with him, and Lin Jun knew him. Zhou Budong. The actual ruler of the hive, Zhou Budong, was also with Tang Yu. The 2 of them were sitting in an open area, looking at the scenery outside. AI, how nostalgic. I haven't been out for 2 years. Tang Yu said, You're not bad. It's only been 2 years. I've been here for 6 years. I haven't even seen the blue sky. It's fine here. Can't you see the sky outside through these branches? It doesn't matter whether the blue sky is blue or not. The most important thing is to be strong. I'm also optimistic. My greatest limit is to compress the Dantian Qi to the 6th layer. I can't reach beyond that. Before that, I'll be satisfied if I can get special star crystal. Tang Yu said, I should be able to do better than you. I estimate that my limit is the 7th layer of compression. However, the stellar crystals in the sky are a little scarce. If I want to increase my strength in a short period of time, I can only look for more outside. If I didn't accidentally overhear you, I wouldn't have come with you. Zhou Budong said, we have a deal. This special star crystal was discovered by me. When the time comes, I'll take it. As for the ordinary ones, I'll give them to you. This way you can easily reach the 5th time, or even the 6th time. I know. We have a deal. The special ones will go to you, and the rest will go to me. After all, you were the one who discovered it. I'm just following you. Of course, I won't take the special ones. Zhou Budong looked at Tang Yu. His strength was above Tang Yu's, so he wasn't afraid that Tang Yu would go back on his word. Tang Yu asked again, "But we're already beside the fruit tree. Where's the special star crystal you mentioned?" "Don't worry, I found it by accident. It's not easy to find a special star crystal. The vault of heaven is so big. How many special star crystals have appeared in these years? We have to wait. When it rains, it should be enough. If you're anxious, pray that the rain is heavier and the thunder is louder." "Rain? What does that have to do with rain and thunder?" Tang Yu asked. "I don't know why. Anyway, the last time I saw it, it was when it was raining and thunder. If it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't get it by myself, you wouldn't have had a chance." "All right. I was wondering why you came out when it was raining. Since we're here, let's just wait." The two sat there and chatted. During this time, Tang Yu would occasionally mention Lin Jun. Her words showed that she hated Lin Jun. Lin Jun listened from afar with a smile on his face. Gradually, the branches swayed and the wind blew. "It's windy, cold wind. It seems like it's going to rain. It's really rare to wait for rain here." Zhou Budong sighed. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and the dark clouds pushed forward. They were getting closer and closer to the stellar fruit tree. "What thick dark clouds. Good. Great. This rain will definitely not be light. I think we can see the special star crystal." In the dark clouds, a golden snake jumped, and lightning tore through the sky. Rumble. A sudden clap of thunder sounded in the sky, causing everyone's eardrums to swell. Chapter 177. Tang Yu and Zhou Butong raised a leaf above their heads to block the rain, but their eyes kept looking at the edge of the leaf. "It's this place. This is where I found it last time." Zhou Butong pointed in a direction and said, "Did you remember wrongly? There was nothing there, not even a branch. Where did the flower grow? How can there be star crystals without flowers?" Tang Yu asked suspiciously. "I don't know how to explain it. I just remember that a bolt of lightning struck that spot. Then something cracked open. Inside the crack was a tree with a large pile of star crystals. All of them were mature stellar crystals, about 100 of them. And in the middle of those stellar crystals, there was a flower with a pale yellow star crystal on it. It was definitely a special star crystal." Zhao Hai nodded his head and said, "I don't know how to explain it." Tang Yu listened to Zhou Butong like he was listening to a story, but he still had some doubts in his heart. This was not very reliable, but he had followed them here, so he cannot go back now. The rain was getting heavier, connecting the sky to the earth. There were occasional flashes of lightning and thunder, but there was no lightning in this place. Zhou Butong said gloomily, "I remember when I was young, my teacher told me not to stand under a tree when it rained, because trees can easily attract lightning. But the star fruit tree is such a big tree. How come there is no lightning?" "That's not necessarily true. There must be lightning in other places. It's just that we didn't catch it here. It's too normal." The two of them talked, and the lightning around them seemed to gradually increase. Because of the dark clouds, the star fruit tree was pitch black. Occasionally, there would be a flash of lightning outside, and it would brighten up. One after another, the lightning twisted in strange arcs, twisting far and near, but it still did not fall in this place. No, no, if the lightning doesn't fall, that crack will not appear. We can't keep waiting here. We have to think of something," Zhou Butong said. "But what can we do?" Tang Yu was distressed. "Metal can conduct electricity, and it can attract lightning. Why don't we throw some metal over? Maybe it'll work." Tang Yu nodded. Zhou Butong thought for a while, and then took out a sword from his spatial ring, and then threw it far away. It was the place he remembered. This method worked. The lightning seemed to be attracted to the sword, and suddenly a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, accurately striking the sword. Crack! The golden light on the sword shone brightly, and then it fell to the ground. However, the two of them did not look at the sword. Instead, they looked at the sky with their mouths agape. At the same time, Lin Jun was also watching. Lin Jun was also stunned by the scene in front of him. In the void, a purple crack with black light appeared. The crack was like a slowly opening vertical mouth, and there were no teeth. The lips were golden purple, and there was a flickering light that appeared out of nowhere. It was dark and deep. In the middle of the crack, there seemed to be a little distance away. There was a small tree standing there with blooming flowers on it. The flowers were in full bloom. Floating above them were objects that emitted faint starlight. They were clearly star crystals. Both Tang Yu and Lin Jun had seen countless star crystals before, so they could tell at a glance which star crystal was from which star crystal was produced. Even so, they were still shocked by these star crystals. When Zhou Butong said that there were over 100 star crystals, it was not an exaggeration. In fact, there were over 200 to 300 star crystals here. The starlight was like a river of stars in the sky, flickering constantly. Every single star crystal was in its mature stage. The energy intensity of a mature stellar crystal was more than double that of an ordinary stellar crystal. It was simply dazzling to the eyes. This was simply the most beautiful scene in the world. Especially for a martial artist, these star crystals represented strength, power, wealth, status, and everything else. Moreover, in the center of the densely packed star crystals, there was a star crystal that was emitting yellow, a little gray, and a little green. The light on the star crystal was changing from time to time. It wasn't bright, but it didn't have a fixed color. A special star crystal. It was definitely a special star crystal. And it was not an ordinary special star crystal. Otherwise, it would not be so rare. This star crystal was definitely a treasure. Zhou Butong and Tang Yu's saliva almost dripped down as they stared fixedly at the star crystals in the air. Zhou Butong, who had seen it once, was a little resistant. He said to Tang Yu, "Okay, let's go now. Aren't you a spirit reader master? Fly me up and directly enter the crack. According to our previous agreement, I will take the special star crystal, and the rest of the star crystals will all belong to you." The crack was 40 meters above the ground, and there were no branches nearby. If they wanted to go up, they would have to fly up. Although Zhou Butong was the head of the hive, he was not a spirit reader master and did not have the ability to fly. This was one of the reasons why he brought Tang Yu along. At this time, Tang Yu had also recovered. Her eyes flashed a few times. "Okay, let's go." Saying this, Tang Yu took out a shield and stepped on it. Then she said to Zhou Butong, "Come up, stand in front of me. This way, when we go in, you can take the star crystal first. You don't have to worry about me taking the special one." Hearing this, Zhou Butong felt that it was reasonable. He immediately stepped on the shield and stood in front of Tang Yu. The shield shook a little, and the two of them flew up, straight towards the crack in the sky. Lin Jun stood behind, looking at the crack with a surge of emotions. Space crack. This is actually a space crack. The flower inside is the space wandering flower. I don't know why it was imprisoned in this starfruit tree. No wonder Tang Yu's strength was so strong. It turns out that he found the space-wandering flower in the space crack. No wonder, then the person who obtained the star crystal at this time in the previous life was not Zhou Butong. Tang Yu and Zhou Butong did not know what this crack was, but Lin Jun knew. This was a space crack. On the other side of the crack was a different world. It could extend out into the vast starry sky, and it could be tens of thousands of light years away. Space cracks had appeared more than once in the universe. This kind of crack often represented a high reward, but more often than not it represented a high risk. If the crack was stable, after entering it, one could come out in a short period of time. If the crack was not stable, after entering it, it was very likely that the crack would close, and the martial artist would be trapped in that world forever, unable to find the way home. Meanwhile, the space wanderer flower only existed in space-time cracks. The star crystals on it represented the power of space. It was no wonder that Tang Yu could use telekinesis to teleport. Without the power of space as a foundation, teleportation was not something one could even dream of. Lin Jun saw Tang Yu and Zhou Butong rise into the sky from behind. Just as he was about to move, he felt that the crack was flickering, as if it could collapse at any time. Not good. This space crack is not stable. The lightning just now cut open the space, but the power was not strong enough. This crack is about to collapse. Moreover, Lin Jun felt that Tang Yu was not willing to just take the ordinary star crystal. Perhaps there would be a dispute between the two. Sure enough, just as Tang Yu and Zhou Butong approached the crack, before they could enter, the crack flashed with a golden-purple light, and disappeared in front of their eyes. Zhou Butong, explain to me what's going on, Tang Yu said angrily. I don't know. The two of them were unwilling to give up. They hovered in the rain for a while before landing. Zhou Butong scratched his head and thought hard. Finally, he slapped his head and said, I remember now. The last time I saw this crack, it disappeared in a short period of time. It was about the same time as this time. So that's how it is, Tang Yu thought for a while and gradually had some clues. This crack was fixed in this position, and if they wanted to break it open, they could only rely on the power of lightning. However, the sword could only attract lightning once before it became dim and could not attract any more. It was probably because the power of the lightning was not enough. If they could attract more lightning, there should be no problem. Thinking of this, Tang Yu looked at Zhou Butong and said, Big brother Zhou, I think this crack is not going to run away. Why don't we use another lightning to split open? Then you can quickly go in and take the star crystal and come out. Zhou Butong nodded and said, What you said is very reasonable. But my sword is gone. It was destroyed by the lightning. That's okay. We came together. You can't be the only one. I have a sword here. Take it and use it, Tang Yu said as she took out a sword from her space ring. The sword was faintly flashing with electricity. It was obviously of high quality. This is the latest product from the Ministry of Science and Technology when I came in. There is electricity in the sword. It should be better than the previous one. Okay, then I'll try and throw it up. Zhou Butong took the sword and was about to throw it up. Hey, don't rush. I think the sword you threw just now was a little off. Stand over there, Tang Yu said as she directed. Here? Zhou Butong took 2 steps forward with the sword. Almost there. 2 more steps. Here? I remember it was here. Zhou Butong took 2 more steps. That's about right. Raise the sword and show me if it's the same place. Zhou Butong's mind was filled with the star crystal. He did not think too much. Raising the sword in his hand, he pointed upwards and said, I remember it should be here. Look, there are a few leaves up there. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Just as he raised the sword in his hand, the electric current within the sword reacted with the lightning in the sky. Numerous golden snakes descended from the sky with a rumbling sound. There was simply no time for anyone to react, and they ruthlessly bombarded the sword in Zhou Butong's hand. The human body was a conductor of electricity. Zhou Butong was the carrier. He was directly hit by 7 or 8 lightning bolts. His body was charred black, and he fell to the ground, dead on the spot. Tang Yu did not even look at Zhou Butong. He was focused on the sky. Chapter 178. The appearance of the crack this time was clearly much more stable than the previous one. The light at the edge was also getting brighter and brighter. It seemed like it would not collapse and disappear in a short period of time. Of course, this time should not be too long, because the spatial barrier was very stable and could automatically recover. As long as there was time, no matter how big the crack, it would recover. Tang Yu did not know about this. He stared at those flowers and laughed out loud. Great, great. Zhou Butong, you idiot. You reckless thing. Are you still going to show off this time? A pig like you still wants special star crystals. Do you think you'll be able to get them with your life? These things can only be mine. All of them are mine. I won't give you a single normal one. As long as I have these star crystals, I will have power. I won't have to look at that little tyrant's face anymore. What bullshit for celestial gods. They're all trash. And Lin Jun, that bastard insulted me back then. I'll return what you did to me 100 times over. I'll make you suffer a life and death dilemma. And Su Mingyue, who asked you to look down on me? Let's see. When Lin Jun and Little Tyrant are killed by me, when you have no other choice, will you choose the strong? As Tang Yu spoke, his entire person was a little crazy. This was also human nature. It was like a poor man suddenly becoming rich. He would often be unable to control his heart and excitement, and would do some rather arrogant things. Warriors were similar. When faced with great power, not many people could control themselves, especially when Tang Yu was actually not that old. He stepped on the shield and rose into the air again. As he flew, he laughed and proudly rushed towards the spatial crack. His hand was still trying hard to reach forward, as if he would be able to grab the star crystal very soon. He would be able to grab everything. His fingers were getting closer and closer to the edge of the spatial crack. As long as he took another step forward, he would enter a whole new world. A world that would bring him unlimited light and imagination. There was a saying, extreme joy begets sorrow. There was another saying, so close yet worlds apart. Tang Yu saw that he was about to succeed. Suddenly, he felt a chill in his chest. "Hey man, what's that?" He looked down and saw a golden dagger piercing through his back and sticking out his chest. Then he lost all his strength in an instant. He could no longer control the shield. He screamed and tumbled down from the sky. Rumble. His body fell heavily to the ground, but he did not die immediately. Instead, he looked up at the purple crack. His hand was still trying to reach forward, but he could no longer reach it. Why? Why is this happening? He muttered. As the rain fell, he saw Lin Jun's face appear in his line of sight. No reason. Tang Yu, you may have always thought that you are a good person, but you don't know that your heart is evil. In front of little temptations, you always act like a gentleman, but in the face of life and death, when it comes to things like power, you can't control your heart. So your ending has long been decided. I'm just sending you on your way. Lin Jun, goodbye, Tang Yu. I've already let you live for 2 more years. You should be content. Now that you have completed your mission, you can go in peace. As he spoke, Lin Jun raised his hand and pulled out the dagger made of liquid metal from Tang Yu's chest. Blood spurted out, and then it was poured down by the rain. Soon, it flowed into the trees with the rain. Tang Yu's hand finally fell down powerlessly. His head tilted, and his life ended. With Tang Yu and Zhou Budong dead, there was no second person here. Lin Jun stepped on the shield and rose into the sky. In the sky, a bolt of lightning struck towards Lin Jun. Because Lin Jun's body was strengthened by lightning ions, he could feel the intensity of the electric current in the air. He immediately raised his hand instinctively, and a flying dagger flew up to intercept the lightning in the air. The flying dagger was then destroyed. Another bolt of lightning appeared, and Lin Jun shot out another flying dagger to intercept the lightning. Just now, Tang Yu and Zhou Budong did not receive the same treatment. The power of the lightning is much stronger than before. In a short space of 40 meters, Lin Jun shot out 5 flying daggers consecutively and finally arrived in front of the crack. No longer caring about the situation outside, Lin Jun dove in head first. But even so, one of his legs was still hit by a bolt of lightning. After the explosion, Lin Jun fell into another space. He felt that one of his legs was numb. Fortunately, I have lightning ions in my body. My resistance to lightning is not small. Otherwise, I'm afraid that this leg would be gone by now. At this moment, Lin Jun did not even care about the numbness in his leg. He hopped forward with one leg, and as he moved forward, he looked at the space. This space was not big. It seemed to be only a few hundred meters in radius. There was a small hill inside, and there was a small tree. The small tree grew on the hill, and all the star crystals were concentrated on this tree. It was full of beautiful flowers. Looking into the distance, the purple space seemed to be flowing, and the light was changing. It was far less stable than the space on Earth. I don't know where this space came from. Although I have heard some rumors about space, this is the first time I've seen a space crack with my own eyes. It is also the first time I have entered a space crack. There seems to be air in here, so the tree can survive. This hill provides nourishment for the tree. I don't know how long it has existed. Maybe it has existed for 1,000 years, like the starfruit tree. Lin Jun thought about it, and quickly came in front of the small hill. He did not dare to fly there. Instead, he tried to climb to the top of the hill. When he came in front of the small tree, there were star crystals everywhere. Roughly counting, there were about 300 of them. I don't care. Let's pick them. I don't have time to absorb them here. Let's pick all the star crystals first. Lin Jun came in front of the special star crystal and wanted to reach out and pick it. No, if I start picking the star crystals now, I can't just leave the other star crystals here. These are all mature stellar crystals. Every one of them is a priceless treasure. I have to absorb them all. But if I pick them all, there's no way to preserve so many star crystals. Do I have to uproot this tree and take it with me? If I put them in my interspatial ring, these star crystals will dissipate in a few hours. Wouldn't that be a waste? Lin Jun was immediately distressed. If he absorbed the star crystals here, the spatial crack would close soon. If he took the star crystals with him, he wouldn't be able to absorb them all in a short time. Even with the dark star, he wouldn't be able to absorb them all. Most of the star crystals here would go to waste. It should be known that if Lin Jun absorbed all the mature stellar crystals, his Dantian Qi would be compressed at least 7 times. If he could compress it 7 times, Lin Jun would have enough time in the stellar fruit tree. He would be able to face Sky Dome's experts and save Su Mingwei. He would even be able to leave the stellar fruit tree quickly and not delay the upcoming monster attack in Ice City Base. Therefore, these star crystals were absolutely important to Lin Jun. He could not waste them. However, if he absorbed the star crystals and got stuck in this space, that was not what Lin Jun wanted to see. If he could not find his way home, he would be trapped here forever. What was the point of absorbing the star crystals? Left with no choice, Lin Jun chose a compromise. He wanted to absorb as many star crystals as he could inside the spatial crack. When the spatial crack began to show signs of instability and was about to close, he would take some star crystals and leave. Although he couldn't avoid losses like this, it was always better to have fewer losses. Since he was going to absorb the star crystals, Lin Jun's first choice was naturally that special star crystal. This special star crystal was the Space Wanderer flower. If he could obtain it, he would obtain the legendary power of space. This was what Lin Jun dreamed of. Without any hesitation, Lin Jun placed one leg on the tree trunk and tried to lift his leg. There was still some distance between him and the flower. He did not dare to fly rashly. He was afraid that the space here would not be so stable. Grabbing the tree trunk, Lin Jun ignored the pain in his leg and used his child's ability to climb the tree. Although one leg was numb, Lin Jun was still agile. He climbed up in a few steps. The tree shook a few times, but it was still stable. Using his hands to push aside a few leaves that blocked his view, Lin Jun was careful not to touch the other star crystals as he approached the special star crystal. When he finally got close, Lin Jun lowered his head. At this time, the Space Wanderer flower was right in front of him. The star crystal was hazy. It was a faint golden color. Sometimes it would appear black. Sometimes it would appear purple. Sometimes it would appear blue. It gave off an illusory and unreal feeling. This star crystal was right in front of him, but it also seemed like it was not in front of him. This was the magical manifestation of the power of space. It seemed like it could disappear at any time. What a beautiful star crystal! A Space Wanderer flower that contains the power of space. Although I don't know why you are imprisoned here, you belong to me. Lin Jun held his breath. He raised his hand and stretched it towards the Space Wanderer flower. He did not dare to move too much. His fingers separated the stamen from the star crystal, severing the mysterious connection between them. Even with Lin Jun's wisdom, he could not help but be attracted by the beauty of this star crystal. That's great. I'll absorb it immediately to avoid any more trouble. Lin Jun picked up the star crystal and placed it in his lower abdomen, preparing to absorb it. But at this time, the surrounding space suddenly shook. What's going on? Lin Jun stopped moving. Suddenly, the space-time crack began to close rapidly. Not good. This Space Wanderer flower is the core of this space-time crack. Without it, the space-time crack will close. If I can't get out, I will be isolated in the alternate space. Lin Jun could no longer care about the other star crystals. He quickly put the special star crystal into his spatial ring. Stepping on a shield, he flew towards the space-time crack that was about to disappear. Chapter 179. Lin Jun's speed had never been so fast. In an instant, he had reached the spatial crack. Seeing that the crack was about to close, he retracted his body and was about to rush out of the crack. The first thing to go out was the edge of the metal shield. However, Lin Jun had forgotten that the shield was made of metal and conductive. At this moment, the wind and rain were raging outside. The shield that appeared out of nowhere immediately attracted lightning. In an instant, more than 10 lightning bolts bombarded the shield, including Lin Jun's exposed leg. Rumble. Lin Jun's body was blasted back. His legs were numb as he flew back into the alternate space. The despair in his heart had never been so heavy. He watched helplessly as the spatial crack closed and disappeared in front of his eyes. Heavens! Lin Jun wanted to cry, but had no tears. This was bad. The spatial crack disappeared mercilessly. Lin Jun was helpless and could only silently climb up. I can't even feel my legs. Lin Jun looked at his legs that had been repeatedly tortured. There was still electricity flowing through them. He had been struck by lightning twice. His legs should have set a record. If it weren't for the lightning ions, his legs would have been cooked by now. However, Lin Jun wasn't in the mood to look at his legs. He first tried to find traces of the spatial crack. However, he found that it had completely closed. There were no traces. His depressed mood only lasted for a short time. Without any other choice, Lin Jun chose to absorb the star crystal first. Whether he could get out or not, the star crystal's time was limited. Lin Jun had to hurry up and absorb it, temporarily putting aside the distress of being trapped in the alternate space. Lin Jun sat down and took out the space star crystal from his ring. Space star crystal. I hope you can bring me good luck. Placing the star crystal in front of his lower abdomen, traces of star power began to enter Lin Jun's dantian. As soon as the star power entered, Lin Jun felt different. Countless colorful streams of light began to invade Lin Jun's consciousness. Faint gold, hazy gray, deep green, and even the blue of the sky and the red of flowers. The colorful lights were incomparably gorgeous. In an instant, Lin Jun's consciousness began to blur. Who am I? I am Lin Jun. Is this my previous life or my current life? Where am I now? He saw his previous life, his life in the galaxy. Scenes of joy, anger, sorrow, and joy appeared in front of his eyes. He saw his current life. White light burst forth from the sky, and Su Mingyue slowly walked over from the horizon. Idol, why haven't you come to me yet? A green light flashed, and the smiles of his parents appeared. Son, come back quickly. Mom will make dumplings for you. Drink some wine with your father. Gray air filled the sky. The sky opened, and extraterrestrial civilizations descended. The killing scenes made people shudder. Yellow clouds were floating in the sky. Bingqing Base City was being attacked by monsters, but he, Lin Jun, was helpless. Good. What a space star crystal with the power to confuse. Lin Jun abruptly opened his eyes. It's a pity that you met me. My soul can even pass through a black hole. How can a mere star crystal affect my will? The so-called colors are fake. They're all used to confuse people. Don't think that I don't know your nature. When all the colors merge together, it will be the purest black. Only black is the original color of the universe. Stop right there. All the illusions disappeared at this moment. The images shattered like glass. Then, Lin Jun saw a black void. That's right. The end of the black void is the barrier of space. This is the power of the space star crystal. After getting rid of the illusion, Lin Jun closed his eyes again and tried to feel the depths of the space. After a while, the power of the space star crystal was completely absorbed by Lin Jun's dantian. The space star crystal had disappeared, but Lin Jun did not wake up. He was feeling the power of space. He could no longer feel his body. Only his mind was moving forward into the depths of space. Gradually, countless small light spots appeared around him. If one looked carefully, there were planets. There were newly born star cores. There were planets that were just formed. Volcanoes were erupting on them, and the Earth's crust was changing. There were stars that were emitting strong heat waves. There were light blue planets that were habitable. There were barren, uninhabited planets that were extremely cold. It was a forbidden zone for life. There were also white dwarfs that were about to die. They were gradually evolving into supernovas. They were disintegrating and dissipating in the endless universe. These scenes flashed past Lin Jun's eyes. He was flying at the speed of light. It seemed that he was going to reach the end of the universe. However, was there an end to the universe? No one knew the answer. At the very least, humans could not give an accurate answer. Everything could only be guessed and imagined. However, in people's knowledge, the universe was infinitely big because they could not explore it. Lin Jun certainly had this idea. He had never heard of the universe having an end in the universe. After flying for an unknown period of time, the surrounding scenery remained the same. Lin Jun finally felt tired. No, no, if I continue to move forward in the depths of the universe, I might stay here forever. If I want to control the power of space, I have to leave this space first. Lin Jun did not know how to leave. He only knew how to increase his speed. However, he felt that he was already at the speed of light. How could he increase his speed? I don't know. I have to be faster. I want to break through the limits of time and space. I want to reach the end of the universe. When Lin Jun had this idea, his speed increased. It seemed that he had surpassed the speed of light. When he exceeded the speed of light, the surrounding scenery suddenly disappeared. He rushed out of the universe's time and space and entered another space again. There were no planets, no dust, and no floating celestial bodies. There were only endless lines. Some were horizontal, some were vertical, and some were standing. They formed countless lattices that were shining. This is a superdimension. It is the boundary between spaces. There is no time or distance here. Everything is infinite and eternal. This was the first thought in Lin Jun's mind. He floated quietly in the superdimension and felt the wonders of space. He did not know how long he had been floating in the superdimension. In short, it felt very long. In this place where there was no concept of time, he felt that millions of years had passed. Finally, at a certain moment, Lin Jun suddenly opened his eyes. I understand now. The end of time and space is the boundary. After crossing the boundary, it is reincarnation. The so-called end is just the beginning of another space. As long as I can cross this eternal superdimension, I can cross the distance of space and reach anywhere I want. Even if it's a millimeter in front of me, even if it's a distance of 10,000 light years away, as long as my mental power is strong enough, I can cross it. His body stood up in the void. Lin Jun lifted his leg slightly and took a step forward. With one step, he was so close yet so far. In the next second, Lin Jun returned to the space crack in the stellar fruit tree. Looking left and right, Lin Jun felt his body go numb. Oh, the damn lightning power is not over yet, and I feel a little sore. How long has it been? He took out his phone and looked at it. He found that the time on the phone was still the time when he entered the space crack. No, this is not Earth. Earth's time is useless here. I have to stand up. I have to go and pick those stellar crystals. Lin Jun wanted to stand up, but he suddenly had a thought. Why do I have to stand up? The stellar crystals are there. They seem to be some distance away from here, but they are actually in the same space. They're just separated by a layer of space boundary. As long as I cross that eternal superdimension, I can reach any place I can reach. This limit depends on how far my mental power can support it. Thinking of this, Lin Jun's mind moved. Based on the feeling he had when he was floating in the superdimension, a dark golden light flashed in his spiritual sea. A layer of faintly discernible black light flashed on the surface of Lin Jun's body. In the next second, Lin Jun appeared on a branch of the small tree. Crack! This small tree was not a giant like the stellar fruit tree. The branch could not withstand Lin Jun's weight and snapped instantly. Lin Jun fell heavily from the tree. Swish! Just as Lin Jun was about to fall, a black light flashed on the surface of his body again. He had already sat firmly on the ground beside him and reached out his hand to catch the falling branch. Ha ha ha! Lin Jun held the branch and looked at the 5 or 6 bright stellar crystals on it. He raised his head and laughed. It's done. I thought I wouldn't be inferior to Tangyu. Telekinesis teleportation doesn't consume much energy. With my dark gold mental power, I can perform short-distance teleportation dozens of times in a row without a problem. With his understanding of the power of space and his strong mental power as a foundation, Lin Jun finally mastered this unique skill, telekinesis teleportation. He lowered his head and looked at the stellar crystals in his hand. Although I can now teleport in space, I don't know if I can leave this alternate space crack. Even if I can leave, I won't leave immediately. There are more than 300 mature stellar crystals here. I have to absorb all of them. I won't leave until I've absorbed all of them. There were a total of 6 stellar crystals on the branch. He plucked 3 of them and placed them in front of his lower abdomen. Chapter 180. Ever since Lin Jun had obtained the dark star within his body, he had never found it difficult to absorb star crystals. But this time, he couldn't absorb them as freely as before. The power of a mature stellar crystal was just too strong. Not to mention, he was absorbing 3 at a time. Lin Jun felt that it took him about 6 to 7 hours to absorb these 3 crystals. Seeing that the remaining 3 crystals on the tree branch were about to transform into white dwarfs, Lin Jun finally finished absorbing them. After absorbing them, Lin Jun didn't even have time to digest them. He immediately started absorbing the other 3 crystals. These 3 crystals took even longer to absorb. Because his dantian was already in a saturated state, Lin Jun didn't have time to digest them. He could only absorb them while consuming them. His speed was very slow. By the time Lin Jun finished absorbing these 3 pills, he felt as if a day had passed. Seeing that there were still more than 300 crystals on the tree, Lin Jun felt a headache coming on. This time, he was going to have some fun. He still needed some time to digest them. However, what comforted Lin Jun was that after absorbing these 6 star crystals, Lin Jun was already halfway through the 4th layer of compression. As long as he absorbed about 10 more crystals, he would be able to compress his dantian qi to the 5th layer. Forget it. If I can't go out, then I won't go out for now. I'll just stay here and absorb the star crystals. Let's finish absorbing these 300 crystals first. Lin Jun moved his numb legs. There were still traces of electric current on one of his legs. It seemed that if he didn't expel it, he wouldn't be able to completely remove it. However, Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry. He had lightning ions in his body. The electric current couldn't really cause him any real harm. At most, it would only numb him. Sitting cross-legged inside the spatial crack, Lin Jun started to digest the newly injected energy. The excess energy from the star crystals was stored in the dark star. As Lin Jun adjusted his breathing, the energy from the dark star was released and compressed bit by bit into his dantian. The energy from the 6 star crystals took Lin Jun an entire day. Only on the 2nd day did he start the next round of absorption. After repeating this process for 3 days, Lin Jun finally reached the 5th layer of compression of his dantian qi. Phew! At the 5th layer, I've only consumed 15 star crystals. I've already counted the number of star crystals on the tree over the past few days. There's a total of 330 star crystals, and there are still 315 star crystals that haven't been absorbed. If that's the case, I should be able to complete at least 8 layers of compression, or even higher. It's just that it will take a lot of time. I wonder if I can complete it within 3 months. At this moment, Lin Jun didn't have a way to leave the space crack. He casually ate something and began his long journey of absorption and compression. Fortunately, he still had a lot of food in his spatial ring, so he didn't have to worry about starving to death for now. Ever since Lin Jun left, the number of star crystals in the hive increased again, which made the martial artists very happy. The celestial 4 gods stayed in the honeycomb and snatched almost all the star crystals in the west. Every day, they did nothing but cultivate. Lin Jun's team never appeared again, and no martial artist went to disturb them. In the eyes of other martial artists, Lin Jun's team was not far from disbanding. Time passed day by day, and Lin Jun never returned. It was as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. No one knew where he went. The news of Zhou Butong's death was transmitted back to the honeycomb. Tong Huan took over Zhou Butong's position and began to lead the honeycomb's affairs. After Tong Huan took over, she increased the number of star crystals collected by the other martial artists to 40%. This caused a strong backlash from the other martial artists. Previously, there were people who couldn't tolerate 30%, let alone 40% now. However, these martial artists' resistance didn't have any effect. The celestial 4 gods led the Eastern group to suppress the resistance. Under the huge difference in strength, the martial artists couldn't resist at all. Tong Huan also announced to the public that these extra star crystals were to be sent to celestial 4 gods for Yi Lanshan's breakthrough. At this time, It had been more than 2 months since Lin Jun disappeared. Celestial Four Gods released news that Yilanshan was on the verge of a breakthrough and needed a lot of star crystals. They requested the honeycomb ant nest to send star crystals over. As one of the two big shots of Celestial Four Gods, Yilanshan's fame in the stellar fruit tree was not small. She was a martial artist whose dantian had been compressed to 7 layers. Now that she was about to become a war god, it should be that her dantian had been compressed to 8 layers. 8 layers of compression was her limit. In addition, she was almost 30 years old. If she didn't become a war god now, it would be too late. After the compression was complete, Yilanshan would break through to war god. It was said that little tyrant Yufeng was preparing a banquet in Celestial Four Gods. He was waiting for Yilanshan to break through to send her off. This was because once Yilanshan broke through, she would have to leave the stellar fruit tree within 3 days. Although Celestial Four Gods didn't say it clearly, everyone knew that once Yilanshan left, it would be Yufeng's time to marry Su Mingwei. At that time, no one would be able to stop Yufeng. Inside the hive, the 4 gods of Celestial Four Gods and Tong Huan were together, discussing matters. Hua Sangtian was the first to speak. I think our mission is about to end. Tyrant Side has already sent news. Within half a month, everything will be settled. This also means that Yilanshan will break through and leave in a few days. Once Yilanshan leaves, Su Mingwei will become Mrs. Yu. Therefore, the wedding will definitely be held within half a month. Ha ha ha. Tyrant's finally going to get what he wanted. When he leaves the stellar fruit tree, will he carry a little child with him? Zhang Sihai said with a smile. Dong Shunkai looked at Hua Sangtian. Is this what you want to talk about today? Of course not. What I mean is that Lin Jun has already disappeared. I think he has already given up. Now that Tyrant's wedding is about to begin, Yilanshan's farewell banquet will also be held. The 4 of us definitely have to go back and participate. We can't just foolishly stay here in the hive. You mean to leave? Return to Celestial Vault? Yes, there's nothing to do even if we continue to stay here. What else can we do if we don't go back? I don't want to stay here for a day to look at these buzzing bees. My head is about to explode. If we return to Celestial Vault, we can still feel the wind, listen to the raindrops, and enjoy the sunshine. How wonderful! While Hua Sangtian was lamenting, Dong Shunkai interrupted him. No, our mission here is to stop Lin Jun and the rest from breaking through. Now that Lin Jun isn't here, who knows when he will return? We can't give up on our mission. Hua Sangtian smiled bitterly. Shunkai, think about it. Even if Lin Jun returns now, what can he do? If you let him climb up that pile of dirt to absorb the star crystals, how much can he absorb in 10 days? Furthermore, he can't just absorb them casually. Hearing this, Dong Shunkai hesitated. Yes, everything would be over in half a month. By then, no matter what Lin Jun did, he wouldn't be able to overturn the heavens. So what if he returned to the hive? But Dong Shinsai's sense of mission still made her feel uneasy. I still feel that it's inappropriate. Some things can't be taken lightly until the last moment. Furthermore, the Overlord didn't order us to return immediately. He only told us to prepare. At this moment, Li Xuanxiong added, Shunkai, the Overlord is very busy now and can't take care of us. Furthermore, you've known him for so many years. Don't you know his character? He didn't give us any clear orders. Just telling us to get ready is enough. He won't say anything when we go back. Maybe Sky Dome needs us to take care of things right now. That's right. Yilanshan doesn't care about anything when she's at the critical juncture of her advancement. Without the 4 of us here, Conqueror has to deal with everything on his own. We don't feel at ease staying here either. Zhang Sihai added. They were really tired of staying in the hive. In the past, when Lin Jun was around, they could still maintain their vigilance. However, Lin Jun had disappeared for almost 3 months. They had nothing to do all day and were really bored. There was also that group of damn bees. The noise they made after mutating was simply unbearable. Being ravaged by the buzzing noise every day made them miss the Celestial Vault very much. Although Dong Shunkai was a little shaken by the 3 of them, she still insisted, I'm still worried. Lin Jun's teammates are still here. If he comes back, we can still team up at any time. Miss Dawn, don't worry. Those guys who have lost their will to fight won't be able to do anything. I can still guarantee that. Now, everything in the hive is under control. This time, it was Tong Huan who spoke. However, they didn't know that Dong Shunkai was extraordinarily stubborn. She insisted on this point and said, "No, Lin Jun still has teammates. I'll wait here until the Overlord orders me to return. If you want to leave, the three of you can leave. Otherwise, I won't leave." With that, Dong Shunkai closed her eyes and sat down to adjust her breathing. She didn't care about them anymore. Hua Sangtian and the rest felt helpless and walked out of the tree hole together. "What should we do?" Shinkai doesn't agree to go back. "If the three of us go back alone, the Overlord will definitely not agree." "That's right. Among the four of us, the Overlord values Shinkai the most. If we leave her here alone, the Overlord will definitely skin us alive. Then what should we do? I've really had enough of this place. Once I think about staying here for another half a month, I feel like I'm going crazy." At this moment, Tong Huan suddenly said, "Miss Dong is worried that Lin Jun can still team up at any time when he comes back. But what if there are no more Lin Jun's teammates here?" "What do you mean?" The three of them looked at Tong Huan. Tong Huan chuckled. "The few of you know what I mean. Lin Jun's 4 teammates aren't strong enough. I believe that if the few of you take action, they will definitely be captured. When the time comes, we'll inform Miss Dong of their deaths. I believe Miss Dong won't have any reason to stay anymore." Hua Sangtian, Li Xuanqiong, and Zhang Sihai looked at each other and nodded involuntarily. Chapter 181. Inside the tree hole, Jiang Huai and the rest were still cultivating. Brother Guang had done his best at the ant nest and sent all the stellar crystals that could be collected from the ant nest here. This allowed Jiang Huai and the rest to cultivate quickly. Li Changing opened her eyes and let out a long sigh. "Phew, success. 5th tier. I've finally finished compressing Dantian Qi." Jiang Huai smiled and patted Li Changing's shoulder. "Congratulations, although you're 1 day slower than me." "Oomph. There's no end to cultivation. What 1 day difference? I'll definitely surpass you next time." Li Changing wasn't convinced. "All right, I'll wait. But let's look at the two of them first. They should have broken through by now." Lu Qingfeng opened his eyes. "I'm not as crazy as the two of you. I've finished compressing Dantian Qi, but I still need a few more days to compress Dantian Qi. It's all thanks to Brother Guang sending us stellar crystals every day. Not bad. You'll be compressing Dantian Qi in a few days. You won't be too far off from us. I wonder how Xiaoman is doing." Zhao Xiaoman walked out of the tree hole. "I'm compressing Dantian Qi. I'm a few days faster than Lu Qingfeng. He was so far behind me at the start, but now he's catching up. That's normal. Lu Qingfeng is a telekinesis master. After all, it's understandable that he's faster." Jiang Huai said as he leaned against the tree hole. "Although it's quite fast to cultivate like this, I'm still a little worried. Lin Jun has already been gone for 3 months, and there's still no news of him. I don't know where he went, so I hope there's no accident." Li Changing shook her head. "There won't be any accidents. The insects in this stellar fruit tree can no longer harm Lin Jun. Even if we go out now, as long as we don't encounter enemies or enter a large group of insects, we won't be in any danger." Zhao Xiaoman nodded. "Brother Lin will be fine. He might be back soon. He won't abandon us." Lu Qingfeng hesitated for a moment before saying, "It's been very noisy outside these few days. I vaguely heard some people talking. It seems like there's a conclusion to Sky's matter." Everyone looked at Lu Qingfeng. They knew that he had more to say. "I think the celestial 4 gods might be leaving soon," Lu Qingfeng said. The few of them thought for a moment and nodded. Everyone was very clear about the purpose of the celestial 4 gods' visit. It was indeed about time for them to leave. Seeing Lu Qingfeng's worried expression, Zhao Xiaoman asked, "Big brother Lu, what are you worried about? Isn't it good that they've left? Then we can go out." "I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about—" Before Lu Qingfeng could finish his words, everyone's expression turned cold. Because a series of footsteps came from outside. Someone was coming. Lu Qingfeng smiled bitterly. "That's what I'm worried about. It seems like we're still a hidden danger. Someone is going to make a move on us." Asterisk, 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 asterisk in the sky, above the stellar fruit tree, close to the treetops. This was a large open space. Because it was close to the treetops, there wasn't much difference between this place and the outside world. In the early morning, one could see the rising sun. At night, one could also see the stars in the sky. The people here could even see the moon and enjoy the light wind and rain. The sky was high and the clouds were light. This was something that martial artists in other places couldn't enjoy. Moreover, with the nourishment of the sun and rain and the proximity to the outside world, the star crystals here grew the best and the most. Star crystals from the core stage to the star stage could be found everywhere. Star crystals could be found everywhere. Star crystals from the star stage to the star stage were everywhere. Of course, star crystals were the rarest. Most of them were low-grade star crystals. The star crystals here were distributed according to the system. Every star crystal was distributed to the higher-ups here. Therefore, there weren't many fights here. Although it wasn't forbidden to go out, very few martial artists were willing to leave celestial four gods and go to other places. Cultivating here was fast, and the environment was good. Why would they want to go out and fight with other martial artists? In the center of celestial four gods, there was a house made entirely of wood. To be precise, it was a palace. This palace had been built for many years. Every ruler of celestial four gods would repair the palace and maintain it for hundreds of years. Not only did the palace not decay due to wind and rain, but it also became more and more magnificent. All of the Sky Dome Empire's martialists lived in this cluster of palaces, which made them even more reluctant to leave. They were no longer willing to go anywhere else. The main hall of the palace was where every ruler lived. Now, the person who lived here was Yufeng, the little overlord from the capital Bay City. It was said that he had a powerful background. Behind the main hall, there was a beautiful palace. The wife of a ruler once lived here. Its environment and location were even better and more beautiful than the main hall. People called this place the Celestial Four Gods Harem. After entering the harem, there was a river winding through the trees. The water in the river was formed by the gathering of morning dew. Every morning, the tide would rise and the water level would drop a little at night. There was a beautifully carved wooden bridge over the river. After crossing the wooden bridge, there was a flower path covered with ivy that led to the entrance of the harem. No martial artist dared to come here casually. This was a forbidden area. Only the overlord and the people who lived here had the right to come and go. After walking through the flower path, there was a wooden door full of the style of the Christian calendar. Opening the door, there was a beautiful square table, comfortable rocking chairs, and an exquisite bed carved from the wood of a fruit tree. There was even a hanging gauze curtain. There was a delicate fragrance, fresh and pleasant. One could tell at a glance that the owner was a beautiful woman. On the big bed, there was a faint sound of a person's voice. "Mingwe, how's your progress?" The woman's voice was very magnetic, low and gentle. "Senior sister, I'm okay. I'm at the peak of the late 8th level. However, I think that the 9th level is my limit." Su Mingyue's voice, which had not been heard in a long time, was heard. A breeze blew past, sweeping across the gauze curtain on the bed. She was dressed in white, hugging her knees as she sat on the bed. Her long hair flowed down like a waterfall, and her eyes were downcast. "Master didn't misjudge you in the past. You are a heavenly genius. Senior sister's aptitude is not bad, but I can only reach the 8th level at most. Moreover, I'm 8 years older than you. You're only 21 years old, but you've already surpassed senior sister. Senior sister still needs a few more days to reach the 8th level." "Senior sister, are you really going to leave?" "I don't want you to leave. This can't be helped. If senior sister doesn't leave, the martial artist path will come to an end. However, you don't have to worry. Isn't there still Yufeng? Actually, he treats you quite well. Almost all the stellar crystals here are given to you first. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached the 8th level from a 9th level combat general in 2.5 years. You're even about to advance to the 9th level. Your progress is even faster than senior sister's." Su Mingwe lowered her head and didn't make a sound. Opposite her, a woman in embroidered clothes was comforting her in a low voice. This woman looked to be 25 or 26 years old. In fact, she was already 29 years old and would soon be 30 years old. This was her senior sister, Yilan Shan. Su Mingwei raised her head and looked at Yilan Shan. Senior sister, I don't care. I'm trying my best to absorb the stellar crystals so that I can have the ability to get rid of him sooner. Mingwei, people should always be realistic, right? Are you still thinking about Lin Jun? Su Mingwei still didn't answer. Her beautiful red lips stubbornly pursed into a line. You've been staying here all this time, so you don't know what's going on outside. Do you know how Lin Jun is now? Su Mingwei raised her head and glanced at Yilan Shan. She still didn't say anything. If you don't want to know, then I won't say. Anyway, I'll be leaving in a few days. Yilan Shan said indifferently. I want to know. Su Mingwei lowered her head. Her voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. Hee, I guess that you would not want to know. However, I'll tell you first. Don't be too disappointed when you hear it. Senior sister, please tell me. Su Mingwei raised her head. I received news here. Lin Jun left the hive 3 months ago and disappeared. He hasn't appeared for 3 whole months. Hearing this news, Su Mingwei's eyes suddenly lit up. Could it be that Lin Jun left the stellar fruit tree? No, there's no news of anyone leaving the platform. Lin Jun is still in the fruit tree. It's just that no one knows where he went. Su Mingwei blinked her eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. Mingwei, are you thinking that he'll come and save you? However, I advise you to give up. Do you know how strong Lin Jun is now? Su Mingwei shook her head. However, she felt that Lin Jun must be very strong. When she parted with him, his fighting strength had almost surpassed hers. He should be very strong now. 3 months ago, Lin Jun was just a martial artist who hadn't even completed the first stage of Dantianqi compression. How strong can he be after 3 months? Impossible. Lin Jun can't be that weak. Su Mingwei said firmly. You don't believe me. Do you think that everyone is as blessed as you? You can freely absorb the star crystals in the sky. Lin Jun has to compete with others outside. Moreover, he has teammates and needs to distribute the star crystals. During the 2 years in the ant nest, he didn't even compress his Dantianqi. He only started to compress it when he arrived at the hive. Now that he has left the hive, there are no more star crystals in the stellar fruit tree. Therefore, I'm guessing that he has given up. Although Yilan Shan's words made sense, Su Mingwei still shook her head firmly. Senior sister, you don't understand Lin Jun. He's a person with outstanding willpower. He never knows how to give up. This is what he taught me. Silly girl. People change. The cruelty of the outside world is enough to destroy a person's willpower. Yilan Shan persuaded earnestly. No. Chapter 182. Hearing Su Mingwei's tone, Yilan Shan was also shaken. After a while, she said, Mingwei, you've changed. You don't seem to believe in starry sky, true God anymore. I haven't seen you pray in a long time. It's better to rely on oneself than to rely on others. Rather than believing in those illusory things, it's better to work hard. God won't save anyone. Nonsense. Is this something you should say as a saintess? Who said this? Yilan Shan was a bit angry. She also came from the Church of Divine Grace, so she was naturally a follower of divine sect. Lin Jun said it. Su Mingwei's matter-of-fact tone made Yilan Shan feel powerless. All right, I think you've been brainwashed by Lin Jun. I really don't know what happened when you two were together. But Mingwei, do you really think that Lin Jun will come and save you? Su Mingwei nodded without hesitation. Since it's like this, as your senior sister, I have to tell you something. What is it? If Lin Jun really comes, let's not talk about his ability, but you have to leave with him as soon as possible. You definitely can't meet Conqueror. Su Mingwei didn't agree with Yilan Shan's words. Senior sister, I'm also about to complete the 9-layer compression. From what I know, Yu Feng hasn't completed the 9-layer compression either. Even if he completes it, I believe that I have the power to fight with him. Even if Lin Jun can't protect me, I can protect him. Mingwei, do you know how many people Tianqiong has? There are a total of 200 warriors here. Basically, all of them have compressed their Dantianqi. They all take orders from the Overlord. Don't think that senior sister is just an assistant. In fact, she is just a decoration. At critical moments, these people will still listen to the Overlord. It's okay. Lin Jun also has helpers. Su Mingwei lightly replied. Silly girl, You underestimate the tyrant too much. Not to mention the problem of helpers. He has already compressed the 8th tier of energy in his dantian for many years. As long as he is willing, he can advance to the 9th tier of energy compression at any time and break through to War God. But why hasn't he compressed the 9th tier yet? It's not that he doesn't have the ability, but he's waiting. Wait? What are we waiting for? Wait for a special star crystal. Su Mingwei said, so what if we wait for a special star crystal? I've also absorbed a special star crystal before. My radiant power is very strong now, so I'm not afraid of any special star crystals. Haha. Although I don't know what that special star crystal the Overlord is waiting for is, I can tell you that the Overlord has absorbed 3 special star crystals: speed, strength, and mental strength. I don't even know what level his mental strength has reached. When he fights, he can rely on his speed and strength alone to crush martial artists of the same level, and even challenge those above him. If he were to obtain another special star crystal, he would have absorbed the 4th one. At that time, who would be his opponent? Su Mingwei didn't say anything. Apparently, she was still somewhat unconvinced. Yilan continued. Okay, I'll tell you another piece of news. The Overlord has 3 treasures in his hands. With these 3 treasures, he is practically undefeatable. What treasures? Astral tools. Hearing the 2 words, astral tool, Su Mingwei was stunned. She naturally knew about astral tools. In fact, the star observation mirror hanging on her chest was also an astral tool, but it didn't have any combat ability. Right, it's an astral tool. The tyrant has an astral tool spear and an astral tool armor in his hand. These 2 treasures are one for offense and one for defense. In addition, he can break through to War God's strength at any time. He definitely can't beat Lin Jun, even if he has 2 astral tools. Su Mingyue's words seemed a bit brainless to Yilan Shan. This kind of blind worship was the most hopeless. However, her little junior sister seemed to believe that Lin Jun was omnipotent. This simply made her feel a bit helpless. Okay. If you say he can't beat him, then he can't beat him. However, you have to listen to what I have to say. The Overlord also has a special astral tool called the Star Strike. It is said that it came from an ancient god's ruins. That thing is a needle, a one-time use item. It is on the spatial ring that he wears. I heard the Overlord say that as long as that thing stains a person's body with a trace of blood, aura, and so on, he will use his mental power to drive it. Even if he reaches the ends of the earth, this star strike can still pierce through the opponent's mind, which is the brain. Although I don't believe in this saying, within the range of this star fruit tree, no one should be able to escape. Su Mingwei blinked when she heard this. There's such a magical thing. Yes, that's why the Overlord is almost invincible. As long as that thing locks onto one's aura, it is almost impossible to avoid. Although it is a one-time use item, if Lin Jun is really strong to the point that he can't beat him, he will definitely use this thing to deal with Lin Jun. Without the strength of the Star Realm, it is impossible to avoid the Star Strike. I advise you to stop thinking about Lin Jun. Even if Lin Jun comes, if he is killed by the Overlord, you will be even sadder. Su Mingwei didn't say anything for a long time. After a while, she asked, Senior sister, when you leave the star fruit tree, will you phone prepare a banquet to send you off? Of course he will. He has been preparing for me these past few days. However, I think he is actually more preparing for his wedding. There are many things that will only be used during your wedding. Su Mingwei didn't continue the topic. Instead, she said to Yilan Shan, when you leave, I will also send you off. We will be together. Okay. However, the Overlord will also be sitting at the same table as me. You can sit with him. Don't feel annoyed. I think he is quite good. Su Mingwei nodded slightly. Her big eyes looked out of the window. Her voice was a little hazy. I know my limits. Within the spatial crack, Lin Jun slowly opened his eyes. On the tree trunk, the last star crystal had just been absorbed and digested by him. There was no day or night here. There was also nothing that could tell time. Lin Jun didn't know how long he had been here. He could only calculate based on the time he absorbed the star crystals. It's finally done. My estimation was still a little off. The energy of these star crystals is simply too strong. I actually completed the ninefold compression. 330 fully matured star crystals allowed Lin Jun's realm to soar from the fourth layer to the ninth layer. The energy contained in each star crystal here was equivalent to 4 or 5 star crystals in the outside world. Therefore, Lin Jun completed the compression very quickly. He had already taken a big step on the road to the ninth layer. He also didn't expect that his talent in this life would actually allow him to break through to the 10th layer of compression. He was now completely sure that if he had more star crystals, he would definitely be able to compress 10 times and advance to the War God realm. Unfortunately, there were no more star crystals here. Moreover, Lin Jun was a little anxious. I don't know what the situation outside is like. I have already compressed 9 times. If I go out, I can easily defeat the 4 gods of Sky Dome and kill my way to Sky Dome to save them. But what exactly do I have to do to leave this alternate space? Lin Jun arrived at the location of the spatial rift. At this time, his leg was completely healed. The power of the lightning had been absorbed by the dark star in his body, causing the electric snakes on the dark star to coil around and become even stronger. There was a shield placed in the spatial rift. It was the shield that Lin Jun had been struck down when he wanted to leave last time. He didn't move this shield because he didn't want to be unable to find the spatial rift's location in the future. It just so happened that it came in handy now. Lin Jun stretched out his hand and touched the edge of this space. However, there was only emptiness in front of him. He couldn't touch anything at all. He stepped forward. His body walked over without any hindrance. However, he still couldn't feel anything. After taking a few steps, he was actually still in the same place. Lin Jun thought for a moment. Suddenly, he moved his telekinesis and teleported. It was as if he had hit an invisible wall. Lin Jun's teleportation succeeded. However, he was still standing in the same place. No, this method won't work. My teleportation can only teleport within the same space, but it can't cross different spaces. The spatial rift must be torn open in order to leave. Lin Jun thought for a moment and took out the bright silver spear. After the golden energy was poured into it, the bright silver spear was covered with a layer of golden light, becoming incomparably heavy and sharp. Open for me. Lin Jun poured all the qi in his dantian into the spear. The tip of the spear emitted a golden light in all directions as it fiercely stabbed out. There was a fluctuation in space. The spatial rift in front of him rippled like a lake. Little ripples appeared and disappeared, and then it returned to its original state. It's effective, but it's not enough. Lin Jun was in high spirits. He brandished the bright silver spear and used the long river of lightning. Spear after spear stabbed out. Every attack landed on the same spot. However, it was like rainwater falling into a lake. At most, it could only splash a few ripples, but it couldn't bring about any waves at all. The spatial rift was still there. It didn't have any waves, and there were no signs of it cracking. After sending out an unknown number of attacks, Lin Jun finally got tired and sat on the ground. It's still not enough. Although I've compressed the qi in my dantian by 9 times, the stability of this spatial rift is too strong. My attacks still can't reach the power of the heavenly thunder. They can only shake it, but they can't truly break it open. Lin Jun began to recall the matters regarding the spatial rift in his previous life. In his previous life, when the extraterrestrial civilization arrived, the experts of Earth began to resist. Battles would occur from time to time. When those experts fought, they could sometimes even cut open space and create a temporary spatial rift. However, those people were at least at the peak of the War God realm, or even Star Realm experts. They could slightly cut open space, but Lin Jun didn't have that strength at the moment. My current attack power is still a bit lacking. However, it's already impossible for my realm to increase. How can I make my attack a bit stronger? Even if it's a bit stronger, it's still not enough. At the very least, I need to send out an attack comparable to the late stage of the War God realm, or even the peak of the War God realm, to be able to slightly break open a spatial rift. Just a bit is enough. As long as I can slightly break open a small crack, even if it's as big as a pinhole, a bit of Earth's aura will enter, and I'll be able to teleport away. Chapter 183. In the following period of time, Lin Jun made many attempts and used all the methods he could use. However, the space barrier was still as stable as before. It only rippled and didn't crack. What should I do? What should I do? Am I going to be trapped here until I die? Lin Jun had gone through a period of torment. The Dantian Qi in his body had been consumed a lot. He could only sit down and adjust his breathing, allowing his Dantian Qi to recover a little. Just as he was recovering his Dantian Qi, he suddenly saw the dark star in his Dantian. The dark star was still floating there as if it didn't exist. It had fused with his Dantian. The dark star was now providing a gravitational force to Lin Jun. However, this wasn't the most important thing. Only when he reached the star realm would the dark star be able to display its true power. At this moment, traces of electric current were surging on the dark star. This was originally condensed from a thunder core. It contained the power of thunder and lightning. Now that it was supplemented by the power of thunder and lightning from the outside, the electric current on the dark star was even more powerful. It seemed as if a lightning storm was brewing. Lightning! A light flashed in Lin Jun's mind. When he entered the space crack, it was the lightning that split it open. This meant that the instantaneous power of lightning was enough to break the space. Of course, it was also possible that the space crack here had been cracked many times and was no longer stable. However, Lin Jun saw hope. I can use lightning ions at any time now. However, in the final analysis, lightning ions represent the speed of lightning. The real destructive power of lightning is produced by photons. I can only achieve resonance with ions, but not with photons. If I combine ions and photons, I can almost produce real lightning. At least, the power will be greatly increased. I have never thought of immediately absorbing lightning photons. Since I am now at the end of my rope, why don't I give it a try? Thinking of this, Lin Jun made up his mind. He sat cross-legged on the ground. The Dantian Qi in his body slowly revolved. The dark star also revolved. The ions that were everywhere in his meridians and bones were also mobilized. They resonated with the power of lightning in the dark star. Soon, Lin Jun entered a wonderful state. His spiritual power entered the dark star, and he could clearly see the world inside the dark star. This place was made up of energy bodies, dark matter, lightning ions, lightning photons, lightning atoms, and traces of cold air. Lin Jun knew that the cold air was formed by absorbing too much power from the blizzard in Jiaodong. It had already taken root in the dark star. When Lin Jun's lightning ions entered, they could only resonate with the ions in the dark star. However, the larger lightning photons and the small golden lightning atoms were not affected at all. These things haven't resonated with me yet. Lightning atoms represent the fundamental power of lightning. I can't touch them for the time being. I don't have that ability at all. I can only try to resonate with lightning photons step by step. With a thought, Lin Jun's mental power covered one of the lightning photons. The lightning photon was like a slippery loach. Just as Lin Jun's mental power was about to cover it, it suddenly slid to the side at an incredible speed. This little thing actually knows how to dodge. I don't believe that I can't catch you. Lin Jun's interest was piqued. His mental power was like an invisible net that once again pounced on the lightning photon. However, just as Lin Jun was about to succeed, the lightning photon once again made a miraculous dodge. It was like a high-speed bullet that could still turn. It didn't let Lin Jun touch it at all. Lin Jun didn't believe in heresy. He tried again and again, but failed again and again. After more than 10 times, Lin Jun finally dejectedly believed that this lightning photon was a part of lightning. It was simply impossible to catch it with speed. As long as there was a slight flaw, it could easily catch and dodge. It seems that this won't work. I have to change my method. It's useless to cover the net with mental power. There can't be any gaps. The only method I have at present is the mental power's confinement method, soul lock. Soul lock is invisible. It can imprison the soul. The soul is invisible, but mental power can also be used on the lightning photon. It can also be captured with mental power. Why don't I try soul lock? Lin Jun thought of this and quietly used soul lock. Soul lock was to use mental power to form a confinement and firmly imprison a person's sea of consciousness. This was because martial artists believed that a person's soul existed in the brain. As long as the sea of consciousness was imprisoned, the other party's soul couldn't escape. In fact, soul lock was also the use of mental power. It should also be effective on the lightning photon. Sure enough, before soul lock approached, the photon didn't notice. When soul lock was used, the photon immediately began to struggle violently, but it couldn't move at all. Huh, great, it's really effective. As long as I can imprison it, then I can make you resonate with me. As long as I can resonate with a lightning photon, the other photons will automatically resonate. Everything is done. Lin Jun's mental power began to pour into the lightning photon, tightly wrapping it. This time, it was really seamless without any gap. Soul lock was removed, and the photon also lost its way to escape. It could only be wrapped up by Lin Jun. However, Lin Jun didn't expect that resonating with a lightning photon would be such a long process. His mental power was met with strong resistance, and the repeated tug-of-war lasted for an entire day. Fortunately, this photon was completely separated from the other photons and couldn't move. It lost its follow-up power. In the end, Lin Jun succeeded in resonating with it. After a day, the lightning photon finally stopped resisting. Lin Jun could even feel the joy of the photon, just like the lightning ions in his body. It was already a part of him. Come on, baby, let your companions come out. With Lin Jun's order, the lightning photons in the dark star showed an explosive state, violently spewing out, like a continuous burst of fireworks. Countless lightning photons wandered in every corner of Lin Jun's body. The power contained within once again poured into Lin Jun's body, becoming one with the lightning ions. When the photons and ions mixed together, it already had the embryonic form of lightning. However, it lacked the most basic atoms, so Lin Jun still couldn't casually summon lightning. However, he could use his weapon to shoot out the photons and ions at the same time. Although it wasn't as powerful as lightning, it was still very powerful. Another day passed. Lin Jun's body finally finished being strengthened by the photons. He opened his eyes and clenched his fist. Phew, what a powerful force. I originally thought that the 9 layers of compressed Dantian energy was enough, and that there wouldn't be any increase before the 10 times compression. However, after obtaining this lightning photon, my strength actually increased like a geyser. My current pure strength is enough to crush normal beginner-level war gods, and even some weaker intermediate-level war gods. With a clench of his fist, Lin Jun's palm was like a popping bean. Crackling sounds spread out in all directions. That was the power of lightning. Slowly standing up, Lin Jun first walked around this alternate space, then came to the small tree. Perhaps I will leave immediately. I want to thank you for surviving in this broken space, and for nurturing so many star crystals and a space-time wandering flower, allowing me to finally see a ray of hope in this difficult situation. Gently stroking the tree trunk, Lin Jun raised his finger. An inch-long golden ray flowed out from his finger and lightly carved a few words on the tree. Lin Jun's small tree. If one day this place changes, I hope you can return to your space, return to your original world, and don't continue to live in a foreign land. After doing all this, Lin Jun walked down the small mountain. He came to the front of the spatial rift and picked up the shield that was used as a symbol. If I can get out, it will still be my flying machine. If I can't get out, there's no use in leaving the shield behind. I may never get out. After saying that, Lin Jun took out the bright silver spear again. Circulating his aura, the golden chi once again poured into the bright silver spear, covering it with a layer of golden light, making the bright silver spear look like it was made of gold. Then Lin Jun once again circulated his Dantian chi, and a 9-fold compressed Dantian chi began to accumulate. His aura became stronger and stronger, stronger and stronger, until it reached the limit. I've never felt so strong before, but just relying on this alone is not enough to break open the spatial rift. Come out, my lightning. The dark star in his body rapidly circulated. Countless lightning ions and photons were injected into Lin Jun's body, causing countless electric lights to linger around him, and crackling silver snakes to jump on the surface of his body. Stepping on the shield, Lin Jun's spiritual power drove his body, and he quickly flew a large circle around this space. His speed became faster and faster, and by the time Lin Jun rushed to the front of the spatial rift, his body's speed had already soared to the limit. A long string of afterimages was drawn out in the air. Lin Jun pointed the bright silver spear in his hand, and a golden electric current surged. "Break for me. This is the spatial barrier that is blocking me. Let me return to the outside world." Open. The spear shot out. The most basic spear technique, sudden thrust. This simple move was executed by Lin Jun, but it was filled with killing intent. ZZZZZ. At a point in the spatial rift, a fierce collision occurred. The tip of the spear pointed at this point, and countless electric snakes revolved around it, like a spinning golden windmill. Dantian Chi violently surged out, and the speed of the lightning ions and the power of the lightning photons combined, allowing Lin Jun to unleash an unprecedentedly powerful attack. It was as if something had broken at this moment. A tiny ray of light, that represented hope and freedom, surged in through this tiny hole. The stellar fruit tree outside, after 3 months, had once again opened its doors to Lin Jun. Everyone outside, I, Lin Jun, am back. Chapter 184. Inside the hive, Jiang Huai and the rest also understood the situation, and their faces changed. Not good. Since the other party is here, it's very likely that they want to kill us. We can't just give up like that. Zhao Xiaoman listened and said, "It doesn't seem like there are many people, only 3 or 4. I don't think we'll necessarily lose. Brother Moonlight has been providing us with star crystals, so we've improved a lot. I think that as long as Dong Shunkai doesn't join in, we can still fight." Li Changjing stood up and said, "Forget it. Since they've come all the way here, we can't just sit back and do nothing. Let them test the results of our cultivation today." The 4 of them walked out in a single file, and just as they walked out of the tree hole, they saw the other 4 coming over. Glancing around, Jiang Huai and the rest calmed down a little because Dong Shunkai wasn't among the 4, but Tong Huan was. Since Dong Shunkai wasn't here, then this battle could still be fought. Seeing Jiang Huai and the rest coming out, Hua Sangtian and the rest also stopped. The rats have come out of their holes. I didn't expect you guys to still be alive." Li Changjing sneered. "You old farts aren't dead yet. How can we not be alive?" Hua Sangtian raised his eyebrows. "Li Changjing, loser, you have already lost to me twice, 3 times in a row. The first time was when your Northwest Army rebelled. The second and third time was when you and Lin Jun challenged us. I have already shown mercy to you several times and didn't take your life. How can you still be so arrogant in front of me? So what if it's 3 times? Not to mention 3 times, even if it's 30 or even 300 times, as long as I, Li Changjing, am still standing here, there will be a day when I defeat you. I think that day has already come." Seeing Li Changjing being so unyielding, Hua Sangtian was furious. "You are really courting death. Then we will fulfill your wish." "Wait." Jiang Huai raised his hand. "You can't fight without a reason. We have been cultivating here and have never disturbed anyone. What right do you have to find trouble with us? Tong Huan, after you took over the hive, why are there no rules here?" "Rules, Naive. Who set the rules? They're set by the strong. If it was in the past, of course, I would abide by them. But don't you all know? The presence of the few of you will affect the most powerful expert in the stellar fruit tree. Therefore, you must disappear." Tong Huan looked at these people and said slowly, "Actually, you guys have been wronged. This matter originally didn't have much to do with you guys. The mistake was that you guys insisted on getting involved with Lin Jun. Now, I can't tolerate you guys anymore." Lu Qingfeng raised the sword in his hand. "If that's the case, we have to make a move today. It's fine if you don't want to fight. As long as the 4 of you surrender obediently, I, Tong Huan, can promise to spare your lives. After that, I will send you to the platform and leave the stellar fruit tree." This is your only chance to live. Haha, you really know how to daydream. Then let's not talk nonsense. Let's fight. Li Changjing's shout woke up the martial artists who were still sleeping. Many of them walked out of the tree hole. When they saw that the four gods and Tong Huan were about to make a move on Lin Zhen's team, many of them vaguely understood something. Tong Huan wasn't popular in the hive, and the same went for the four gods. They had almost monopolized the star crystals in the west, causing the other martial artists' harvest to be lesser and lesser. However, they were afraid of their strength and didn't dare to say anything. Now that they saw them wanting to kill Lin Zhen's team, these martial artists couldn't help but feel pity for them. Hence, they watched coldly from the side. Let's go. Tong Huan and the other three moved at the same time, and each of them found their opponents. Just like the battle on the arena, Hua Sangtian found Li Changjing, Li Xuanxiong found Jiang Huai, Zhang Sihai found Lu Qingfeng, and Tong Huan found Zhao Xiaoman. But when they started fighting, the four of them instantly felt that something was wrong. These few people stayed in the tree hole for a few months. How did they improve so much? Hua Sangtian and Li Xuanxiong were both at the 6th level of compression and had yet to advance to the 7th level. As for Jiang Huai and Li Changjing, they were both at the 5th level of compression and only had a difference of 1 level. But in terms of talent, Hua Sangtian and Li Xuanxiong couldn't be compared to Jiang Huai and Li Xuanxiong. The two of them were both outstanding figures in their respective cities and were geniuses who could challenge those of a higher level. Now that their levels were about the same, Hua Sangtian and Li Xuanxiong were the perfect targets for them to challenge. Both sides were about the same in terms of strength. Jiang Huai and Li Changjing were full of fighting spirit. They attacked like a storm and completely suppressed Hua Sangtian and Li Xuanxiong in terms of momentum. At this time, Jiang Huai and Li Changjing finally remembered how important it was for Lin Zhen to insist on fighting with Hua Sangtian and the rest. Because from then on, they no longer had any fear towards the four gods. It was just a battle. What was there to be afraid of? Hua Sangtian and the rest could still fight with Jiang Huai and Li Xuanxiong in the beginning. But after a few rounds, they were suppressed by the two's violent attacks and gradually fell into a disadvantage. The more they fought, the more strenuous it became. The two of them still couldn't believe it. How could this be? Other than them, Lu Qingfeng was also evenly matched with Zhang Sihai. With the advantage of being a spirit reader, he circled in the air like an eagle hunting its prey and stalled Zhang Sihai. Zhao Xiaoman's performance was also very shocking. She waved the long sword in her hand, and her body was as agile as a fox. The accumulation of a few months exploded, and she actually forced Tong Huan to retreat. The surrounding warriors were dumbfounded. Since when did Lin Zhen's team become so powerful? They were actually able to suppress the four gods. Although Dong Shunkai wasn't around, Tong Huan was also a warrior who had compressed 4 Dantian Qis. Yet, he wasn't Zhao Xiaoman's match. After the battle continued for a while, the first person was finally defeated. The first person to break through was not Jiang Huai or Lu Qingfeng, but Zhao Xiaoman. Zhao Xiaoman's sword pierced Tong Huan's abdomen with lightning speed. If Tong Huan hadn't dodged in time, his chest would have been sliced open by the sword. Even so, a bloody wound appeared on Tong Huan's abdomen. He screamed and retreated. Zhao Xiaoman's attack succeeded. Hua Sangtian and the rest knew that things weren't going well. They were already at a disadvantage, and if Zhao Xiaoman and Lu Qingfeng joined forces, Zhang Sihai would definitely be defeated. Once Zhang Sihai was defeated, the two of them who couldn't hold on completely collapsed. Sure enough, Zhao Xiaoman didn't chase after Tong Huan. Instead, she went straight for Zhang Sihai. Zhang Sihai was scared out of his wits. He retreated and met up with Hua Sangtian and Lu Qingfeng. The three of them were in a triangle formation. They were being attacked by Jiang Huai and the other three and were in a sorry state. They could be defeated at any time. At this moment, Tong Huan shouted, "What are you guys still standing there for? Charge! All of you attack. Get rid of the 4 of them." Although Tong Huan was the person in charge, he didn't have much prestige. The surrounding warriors hesitated for a moment and didn't move. "You idiots! These 4 people are blocking the Overlord's path. They must die." I will report your performance to the Overlord. If anyone dares to not do anything, then that person is finished. Hearing Yu Feng's name, some warriors slowly pulled out their weapons. However, they hadn't made up their minds. After all, they were biased towards Jiang Huai's side. What are you guys thinking? After defeating them, the four of us will leave the hive. In the future, no one will fight with you for the star crystals. Even if we can't get the Overlord's appreciation, isn't this condition enough? Hua Sangtian shouted anxiously. If they dragged on any longer, they wouldn't be able to hold on. Tong Huan continued. As long as you take them down today, the hive will no longer take your star crystals. There will be no four gods to fight with you. Hurry up and attack. Hearing these conditions, some greedy warriors couldn't hold it in anymore. They didn't have to hand over star crystals. They didn't have to look at the four gods. If they were lucky, they might even be able to enter Sky Dome. These conditions were enough to attract some greedy warriors. Hence, some people joined the battle. Humans were like this. They were always afraid of someone taking the lead. Since there was someone taking the lead and you didn't move, how would the Overlord look at you in the future? You probably wouldn't have a good ending. Since everyone was forced to attack together, the guilt in their hearts wasn't that heavy. With someone taking the lead, some people who were watching also joined the battle. With this move, almost half of the people moved. The remaining people held their weapons and watched. It wasn't that they didn't want to move, but that they couldn't squeeze through. The situation instantly reversed. Jiang Huai and the rest fell into a disadvantageous position. Not good. We can't go on like this. Let's retreat. Li Changjing took the lead and brandished her long spear to open up a path. The few people behind followed at the same time. After a series of sword and saber clashes, almost everyone was injured. The few of them went all out to kill. But in the end, they were still forced into a corner by these people. Ha ha! What goes around comes around. Weren't you guys acting all mighty just now? Why can't you do it now? Let's see where you guys can run to now. Hua Sangtian walked out from the crowd, pleased with himself. Zhao Xiaoman shouted at these people, "You shameless things. When my big brother Lin comes back, he will definitely not let you guys off." Lin Jun, I'm afraid he's already become some mutated insect's feces. Or maybe he's hiding in some rat hole like a coward. Even if you give him a few guts, he won't dare to come back. That's right. His girlfriend has been snatched away by someone else, and this guy doesn't even dare to let out a fart. He actually sneaked away. I've never seen such a useless thing. Serves you right. You bunch of stubborn things still want to rely on that trash. If you have the mood, why don't you beg Grandpa to be merciful? Zhao Xiaoman, although you're unruly and unreasonable, but if you warm Grandpa's bed, Grandpa might consider taking you in. How about that? I'm tolerant enough, right? Ha ha ha. The surrounding practitioners roared with laughter. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, then they were all on the same boat. There was no need to worry so much. Jiang Huai and the rest looked at each other, their hearts filled with despair. Perhaps this would be their last battle. Just as Jiang Huai and the rest were prepared to risk their lives and kill one to earn one, suddenly there was a voice from behind. Why are there so many clowns jumping out in the few months that I'm not around? Seems like the rotten sky of the bee nest needs to be changed. Chapter 185. Big Brother Lin. Zhao Xiaoman shouted excitedly, tears welling up in her eyes, like a child who had been wronged and saw her parents. Boss Lin, idol. Jiang Huai and the rest also shouted. The surprise in their hearts was beyond words. 3 months. They had not seen Lin Jun for 3 whole months. They even felt a little despair in their hearts. Did something happen to Lin Jun? But they did not expect Lin Jun to come back, and at the most crucial time. Although there were countless enemies here, when they saw Lin Jun, they felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Now that Lin Jun was back, everything would be fine. Although this kind of thinking was irrational, this was the feeling of trust that Lin Jun gave them. Seeing Lin Jun appear, Hua Sangtian and the rest's faces changed. Everyone, don't worry. Lin Jun is just one person. Moreover, he was defeated by Dong Shunkai in the past. Even if he has improved, how many nails can he hit if his body is made of iron? Tong Huan also shouted from the side. Everyone get ready. You've already made your move. There's no turning back now. If you don't get rid of Lin Jun, he'll definitely kill all of you once he finds a chance. We're all warriors, so don't have that damn sympathy. Throw that thing into the gutter. It has to be said that Tong Huan's encouragement was very effective. Although these martial artists did not dare to attack immediately, they still slowly surrounded. Lin Jun walked through the dim light of the trees, gradually revealing his figure. He did not care about those martial artists, nor did he care about Hua Tsangtian and the rest. Instead, he looked at the back of the crowd, at his 4 teammates who were forced into a corner, and smiled apologetically. Jiang Huai, Changjing, Qingfeng, Xiaoman, I'm really sorry. I was trapped in a place for a period of time and only managed to escape today. I rushed back immediately, but I still let you all get injured. It's my fault. I'm not competent as a team leader. No, Big Brother Lin, don't say that. I feel that you are the most competent. You are the best. I believe that you will definitely come back and teach these bad guys a lesson. Zhao Xiaoman said as she opened her mouth to cry. She cried as she spoke, making her look like a cat with a dirty face. Jiang Huai looked at Lin Jun. Idol, I believe what you said. If you were trapped, then the place you were trapped in must not be simple. Even with your ability and willpower, it took you so long to come out. If it were anyone else, they would have been trapped to death. Since you came to save us, I will recognize you as my idol for life. Li Changjing wiped the blood off his shoulder. Boss Lin, Li Changjing, have never admired anyone, but I admire you. In the future, when we leave the stellar fruit tree, no matter what happens, as long as you say the word, Li Changjing, will not hesitate. We will even charge through mountains of swords and seas of fire. Lu Qingfeng took a deep breath. Boss, we have some conflicts in the past. My original purpose of coming to the Divine General Training Camp was to kill you. But now I have thought it through. I was foolish in the past. As a martial artist, you should have the integrity of a martial artist and not be someone's dog. I admire your actions, Boss Lin. In the future, when we return to Ice City, if that Li Wanfeng wants to deal with you, Lu Qingfeng, will fight alongside you. To hell with that bullshit god of war. I'm not going to serve him anymore. Lin Jun looked at his teammates and revealed a knowing smile. What everyone said will definitely come true. We still have a long time to get along. At this moment, Hua Tsangtian could not stand it anymore. I say, are you guys done blabbering? Are these the last words of a parting of life and death? If so, I'll give you guys 1 more minute to catch up. Is that enough? Li Xuanqiong sneered. What a joke. These guys are still in the mood to think about the future. Do you guys even have a future? Perhaps you should say, let's meet again underground. Lin Jun said to Jiang Huai and the rest, you guys take good care of yourselves. Stay there and don't move. I guarantee your safety. I'll deal with these guys alone. Jiang Huai and the rest nodded. Although they still had some fighting strength, Lin Jun was the captain. His words were orders. Moreover, they trusted Lin Jun very much. At worst, if Lin Jun was not a match for them, they would charge out together and fight to the death with Lin Jun. Seeing Lin Jun facing nearly 100 warriors alone, Tong Huan sized up Lin Jun. Kid, you've been out for 3 months. Why hasn't your realm improved at all? You're still at the first stage of compression. How dare you boast so shamelessly? You really don't know how the word death is written. Come. Draw a line. Let us brothers play with you. Lin Jun had a dark star in his body. It was different from the dantian of any warrior. Although his dantian chi was compressed 9 times, no one would be able to see through it. Therefore, to them, Lin Jun was still the same as when he first came to the hive. Lin Jun smiled. All right, let's draw a line. Let's play then. With that, Lin Jun rolled up his sleeves and tidied up his clothes. Then, he picked up his bright silver spear and shook it lightly. With a golden rooster's nod, a string of spear flowers floated like rain. Pa! Lin Jun lowered his head and drew a line on the ground. Lin Jun raised his head again. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I've drawn a line. Those who dare to cross this line today will be killed without mercy. Lin Jun suddenly raised his spear and pointed it at the group of martial artists. Lin Jun bellowed, who wants to fight me? This roar was extremely loud and actually gave these warriors a fright. After all, Lin Jun was an influential figure previously. He could even injure Dong Shunkai, so no one dared underestimate him. Tong Huan saw the warriors take a step back and shouted angrily, "Do you have any brains? He's only at the first stage of compression. Even if you guys aren't his match, you'll tire him to death by taking turns or ganging up on him. He really dares to draw a line. Whoever dares to go first, I'll report to the Overlord and bring him to the Sky Dome." There would definitely be brave men with great rewards. After hearing Tong Huan's words, there were finally people who weren't afraid of death. A warrior at the third stage of compression was the first to jump out. Lin Jun, today, is different from the past. "Stay here." As he spoke, the long sword in his hand stirred up the wind and clouds. He actually charged towards Lin Jun with great power. Lin Jun recognized this person. It was actually Captain Wang of Shi Group 3. Hee, it's still an acquaintance. Good timing. Just as Captain Wang was about to reach the line, Lin Jun made a move at lightning speed. The bright silver spear was like a venomous snake spitting out its tongue, retracting and releasing. Pooh! A red dot appeared between Captain Wang's eyebrows. It slowly grew bigger and spread. Finally, it turned into blood flowing down from between his eyebrows. His eyes lost focus, and he fell to the ground, dead on the spot. F***CK. This kid is too ruthless. That's crazy. I can't believe it's true. I don't believe it. Brothers, we have no way out now. Let's go together and chop Lin Jun up. Under the instigation of many fanatical martial artists, the martial artists in front rushed over noisily. At this moment, everyone's means are exhausted, and the skills at the bottom of the box are taken out. The knife light is like a tide, the sword's shadow is swirling, and in the middle there are flying shuttles, throwing knives and other spirit reader weapons, and even some people, because of the distance, took out the long-lost hot weapons and began to fiercely attack. Countless attacks came from all directions. Even if it was a god of war, he had no choice but to dodge. Jiang Huai and the rest watched nervously. They thought that Lin Jun should be dodging. If he didn't, he would be dead for sure. There were even people on the left and right who were ready to kill Lin Jun the moment he dodged. They had to make Lin Jun stay here. However, Lin Jun exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did he not dodge, but he shook his spear and thousands of peach blossoms bloomed. A rain of spear shadows greeted the incoming crowd and collided head-on with them. Speed. Unbelievable speed. Relying on the sharpness of the spear, Lin Jun's spear light arrived first. One blood light burst forth, two blood lights burst forth, and then several streams of blood shot into the sky. Swish! Lin Jun retracted his spear and retreated. The ground was a mess. On that line, there were 7 people. A total of 7 people had fallen. Every one of them had stepped on the line, but not a single one of them was able to take another step forward. Every one of them had blood gushing out from between their eyebrows. Not a single one of them was left alive. After one attack, the warriors at the back were still rushing forward. The warriors at the front had no way to retreat. They braced themselves and charged forward again. Lin Jun, I'll fight it out with you. Attack together. Attack together, and he'll be finished. Lin Jun sneered. His spear stabbed forward again. After a storm of spear light, 7 more corpses appeared on the ground. It was the same as last time. Those who stepped on the line died immediately. Those who didn't step on the line were fine. Furthermore, Lin Jun had been attacking with only one hand. When he saw the warriors stop, he swung his hand and threw a bunch of things to the ground. Don't take these things out in the future. They're not even worth scratching my itch. On the ground, there were flying shuttles, flying needles, flying knives, and hundreds of yellow and orange bullets. They were all aimed at Lin Jun at that moment, and he caught them all without any hesitation. Was it even possible for a human to catch the bullets and flying knives with his bare hands while using his spear to kill? Wah, something's wrong. Retreat. I'm not playing anymore. There's no way we can beat him. Those at the back, don't push me. If you like, go ahead. These warriors were terrified and immediately wanted to retreat. When Tong Huan saw the situation, she panicked. Don't retreat. Split up and attack. Attack Lin Jun while attacking Jiang Huai and the rest. Make it difficult for Lin Jun to take care of both sides. It'll be easier to deal with him if he's distracted. Some of the warriors at the back couldn't see the situation clearly. When they heard Tong Huan's words, they felt that it made sense. At this moment, Lin Jun was blocked by the crowd. Jiang Huai and the rest were like arrows at the end of their flight. It was easy to capture them. Immediately, many warriors at the back charged towards Jiang Huai and the rest. Jiang Huai and the rest immediately raised their weapons and prepared to resist. They would rather die than be a burden to Lin Jun. But at this moment, a figure really appeared in front of Jiang Huai and the rest like a ghost. Another spear light flashed, and 7 more corpses fell to the ground. Lin Jun raised his head and looked at the group of dumbfounded warriors. They had no idea how Lin Jun flew through the crowd and appeared here. Slowly, he drew a line on the ground. Chapter 186. Are you kidding me? How did he come over? Are the people over there stupid? Who gave way to Lin Jun? We didn't give way. He came over on his own. Do you think I'm blind? There are so many of you. How can he come over if you don't give way? These martial artists were a little confused. No one would have thought that Lin Jun would have such a miraculous ability like telekinesis. They were at a loss. But the 20 over corpses on the ground clearly told them that it was best not to go against Lin Jun. Otherwise, they would die a horrible death. Where are the 4 gods? You encouraged us to attack. Why are you retreating now? Hurry up and attack. Hua Tsangtian and the rest were cleared out by the martial artists and exposed to Lin Jun's sight. The 3 of them and Tong Huan looked at each other, not knowing what to do at that moment. The first person to make a move was Tong Huan. Tong Huan had always lived in the hive and followed Zhou Budong. Now that Zhou Budong was dead and he had taken over, he did not have any sense of belonging to Sky Dome and had already decided to retreat. The 3 of you, Sky Dome's 4 gods, are now missing 1. I think if Miss Dong was here, Lin Jun would not dare to be so arrogant. I'll go and find Miss Dong now. With that, Tong Huan immediately turned and ran in the direction of the hive. He had just run a few steps when his vision blurred and Lin Jun's figure appeared. His long spear quickly swept across the ground, and a golden chi swept from the first line to the second line, connecting the 2 lines together and forming a huge semicircle. Anyone who steps on the line, kill them all, Lin Jun said calmly. At this moment, Tong Huan could no longer control his body. One of his legs was suspended in the air and was about to step on the line that Lin Jun had just drawn. He was so frightened that he quickly retracted his leg. But his body was still out of control, and he fell toward the line. Puff! A golden light flashed, and Tong Huan's body fell heavily to the ground. She didn't get up again, and blood began to flow out slowly. Just as Lin Jun killed Tong Huan, Zhang Sihai suddenly moved. He flew out from the semicircle without any lines. He was an innate speed user and had taken a special speed-type star crystal. He had absolute confidence in his speed. As long as he rushed out of the hive's entrance, he believed that Lin Jun wouldn't abandon his companions and many other cultivators to chase after him. As long as he returned to Sky Dome, the Overlord would naturally deal with Lin Jun. Everyone only saw a stream of light and felt a gust of wind sweep past them before Zhang Sihai disappeared. He disappeared quickly and came back quickly. Zhang Sihai's body seemed to have hit a wall and bounced back heavily. On his path forward, Lin Jun appeared again. A layer of golden protective barrier appeared around his body. Zhang Sihai crashed into the protective barrier and bounced back. When he lost his balance, Lin Jun raised his hand and shot out a ray of golden light. It pierced through his forehead before he could land on the ground. Ugh! Zhang Sihai's eyes lost focus. When he landed on the ground, he had already lost his life. Lin Jun raised his bright silver spear again and drew another semicircle on the ground. This line is the lightning pool. If you want to cross it, you have to ask for my permission. As Lin Jun drew the line, the cultivators were shocked to find that the 4 lines that Lin Jun drew were all connected. A huge circle was formed on the ground, trapping everyone inside. Oh, Big Brother Lin is awesome. Zhao Xiaoman screamed excitedly. Jiang Huai and the rest also had their mouths agape. How did Lin Jun learn to teleport? This move was too powerful. He could teleport anywhere he wanted. Hua Songtian and the rest were dumbfounded. What was Lin Jun trying to do? Drawing a circle on the ground. Was he trying to trap the remaining 180 people inside? Originally, Hua Songtian and Li Xuanqiong were in despair. If Zhang Sihai couldn't run, the two of them wouldn't be able to run either. But now they suddenly saw hope. Lin Jun didn't leave any way out and was so arrogant. It seemed like they could make use of it. Li Xuanqiong was the first to speak. Brothers, there's no need to think anymore. Lin Jun wants to kill all of us. His methods are strange, and we don't want everyone to die for nothing. But no matter what, he's the only one here. Let's charge out from all directions and see how many people Lin Jun can stop. Most of us will still be able to make it out alive. After we get out, let's gather at Sky Dome. Yes, let's go and live a good life in Sky Dome. This hive will be left for Lin Jun to play with. Under Hua Songtian and Li Xuanqiong's instigation, many cultivators moved again. But most of them didn't move. The 20 over corpses on the ground constantly reminded them of the danger of the line. Moreover, these people didn't really approve of Hua Songtian and Li Xuanqiong and believed that Lin Jun wouldn't really kill them all. There were 15 to 16 people who immediately rushed out. No one rushed towards Lin Jun and rushed out from 3 other directions. At this moment, everyone finally realized the terror of Lin Jun's teleportation for the first time. Within a second, everyone saw Lin Jun appear on the left. With a shake of his spear, 3 people fell. Then, before the silhouette on the left could disappear, he appeared on the right. He blocked the 2 swords with his spear and opened his hand. A golden ray burst forth, and the 4 people screamed and fell into a pool of blood. In the next moment, he appeared at the back and pierced through 3 people with his spear. Then, he glanced at a person who was about to rush out of the line. With just a glance, that person fell heavily to the ground. His eyes were unfocused, and his brain seemed to have been damaged by Lin Jun's glance. Then, he returned to the left and finished off 2 people who wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape. In the dazzling scene, Lin Jun was on the left, Lin Jun was on the right, and Lin Jun was at the back. From time to time, they would use all kinds of moves. Those who tried to escape would fall into a pool of blood one after another. No one could stand up. Everyone died on the line. Just as Lin Jun started his massacre, a person rushed to the place where Lin Jun was initially standing. Because Lin Jun was there, no one went there. Therefore, this place was actually the safest place. This person was Li Xuanqiong. Dressed in black, Li Xuanqiong was like a night bird returning to the forest as he rushed over. His body had already crossed the line by more than 3 meters, which made him happy. Since Lin Jun had drawn this line, then he didn't step on the line and rush out. Lin Jun shouldn't go back on his word and kill him, right? There were also other warriors who saw this scene and wanted to see Li Xuanqiong's result. If Li Xuanqiong jumped out, then they would follow suit. Lin Jun was opposite him and raised his hand at Li Xuanqiong's body that was still in the air. "Where are you going?" Everyone saw a strange scene. Li Xuanqiong, who was still in the air, actually flew backwards. When he reached the line, he suddenly landed on the ground. Li Xuanqiong's feet landed on the ground. In his daze, he thought that he had already rushed out. He laughed out loud. "Lin Jun, I've come out this time. You can't go back on your word. I didn't step on the line. We'll meet again." Lin Jun was already standing behind him, and his spear pierced through his back. "Idiot, look at what's under your feet." Li Xuanqiong lowered his head and saw that his feet had stepped on the line drawn by Lin Jun. Then, his vision turned black. His last thought was, "I clearly jumped out. When did I come back?" With Li Xuanqiong's fall, this wave of resistance disappeared. Another 20 corpses fell to the ground. The initial group of more than 100 warriors was now reduced to 80. A third of them had been eliminated. Seeing Lin Jun appearing and disappearing like a ghost to kill those who wanted to escape, these warriors had a ridiculous thought in their minds. Siege. They were being besieged. Furthermore, more than 100 people were being besieged by a single person. This matter sounded so ridiculous and unbelievable, but it was the truth. A single person had drawn a circle and trapped more than 100 people inside. Whoever dared to leave the circle would be killed. Everyone couldn't escape, even if they ran together. If this wasn't a siege, then what was? Lin Jun held his bright silver spear and slowly walked outside the circle. And it seems like you guys are more well-behaved now. Seems like you guys finally understood what I said. Those who step on the line will die. Why do I need so much blood to teach you guys how to see reality? Hua Sangtian trembled as he said, Lin Jun, what are you trying to do? Don't tell me you want to kill all of us? I didn't say that. As long as you guys obey my orders, you can live. All the warriors heaved a sigh of relief. Being obedient meant being able to live. All right, we promise to be obedient. Lin Jun raised a spear and pointed it at Hua Sangtian. But this doesn't include you. Hua Sangtian was pointed at by Lin Jun and almost peed in his pants. Although he was also an outstanding warrior, he couldn't be compared to a demon like Lin Jun. In the face of death, he wasn't much stronger than an ordinary person. Just at this moment, the surrounding temperature plummeted. Several ice blades pierced through the air and headed straight for Lin Jun. Dong Shunkai was here. Lin Jun didn't care at all. He raised his hand, and the 9 times compressed Dantian Qi was released. He actually sucked all of Dong Shinkai's ice blades into his hand. What a cold blade. Dong Shinkai, you're finally willing to come out. Lin Jun clenched his fist. Traces of electricity wrapped around the ice blades and turned them into ice-cold water that seeped into Lin Jun's palm. Seeing her ice blades gradually melting in Lin Jun's hand, Dong Shinkai knew that she no longer had any chance of winning. She lowered her head and looked at the ground. Her feet were on the line. Lin Jun, I'm not your opponent. Kill me too. Dong Shinkai raised her head. Go to Sky Dome and tell Overlord that I'll find him soon. Lin Jun's eyes flashed with a dark golden light as he looked at Dong Shinkai and replied. At this moment, Hua Sangtian added, she also stepped on the line and attacked you. If you let her go, then shouldn't I puff? Chapter 187. Seeing Hua Sangtian fall, Dong Shinkai took a deep breath. All right, I'll leave. But Lin Jun, you killed 3 of my companions. This matter isn't over yet. Sure, the matter between me and Tianxiong isn't over yet. You, Dong Shinkai, helped me get rid of the villain before I left. I owe you a favor. Don't wait for me to change my mind. As he spoke, the dark golden light in Lin Jun's eyes intensified. Dong Shinkai had a headache. She wanted to scream in pain, but she couldn't do it in front of others. She could only endure it. After a minute, Lin Jun retracted his gaze and looked at Dong Shinkai with a smile. Dong Shinkai didn't say anything else and turned to leave the honeycomb. She could finally leave at ease. It wasn't that she didn't do her job, but the opponent was too strong. She was powerless to change the situation. The Great Overlord had provoked a strong enemy. It was better to let the Great Overlord deal with it himself. The 4 gods of Tianxiong came to the honeycomb as experts. But after 3 months, only Dong Shinkai left. The other 3 had all died in the hands of Lin Jun. Dong Shinkai's departure was also the result of Lin Jun's mercy. This made the rest of the martial artists realize how strong Lin Jun was. Moreover, after this battle, those who were closer to the 4 gods, including those from the East Group 1 and West Group 3, were all either dead or injured. The rest were basically neutral warriors or those who were more inclined towards Lin Jun's side. These 70 to 80 people stood in a formation in the circle. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They were all far away from the deadly circle. Even if they were to fall, they wouldn't touch it. Lin Jun came to Zhang Huai and the other 3. How are the few of you? We're fine eating well and sleeping well. These injuries are nothing. It's just that after seeing Boss's strength, I feel that all my hard work has been wasted. Zhang Huai rolled his eyes. He was completely convinced by Lin Jun's strength. Li Changjing and Lu Qingfeng also expressed that they were fine. However, the way they looked at Lin Jun was strange, as if they were looking at a prehistoric monster. Zhao Xiaoman didn't think too much about it. She pulled Lin Jun's hand, took out her phone, and insisted on taking a selfie with him. She said that she wanted to show off to others in the future. Zhao Xiaoman waved her hands and hugged them for a long time. The cultivators on the other side were like 70 to 80 wooden pillars, not moving at all. After chatting with Zhang Huai and the others for a while, Lin Jun turned his head and looked at the remaining cultivators. Many of you were instigated by Tong Huan and the others. I don't blame you for this. I can also let bygones be bygones. However, from now on, you have to listen to my instructions. These cultivators looked at each other, not knowing how to answer. In a few days, I will kill my way to Tianqiong. At that time, everyone will be with me. Not only the people from the honeycomb, but also the people from the ant nest. I want to completely break the ruling class of the stellar fruit tree. From today onwards, no one will extract star crystals and give the cultivators a pure cultivation holy land. Hearing this, the cultivators' faces were filled with joy. They had suffered the pain of having their star crystals extracted. If it weren't for the fact that their star crystals were constantly extracted, many of them might have already left this place. As for attacking Tianqiong, they didn't have any objections. As long as Tianqiong didn't fall, the stellar fruit tree would never have a day of peace. Moreover, if they went, they would probably only be dealing with the small fries. For people like the Overlord, they would naturally leave it to Lin Jun to deal with. Now, if you agree with me, you can leave this circle and cultivate on your own. If you don't agree with me, you can stay here. When the cultivators heard Lin Jun's words, no one was willing to stay. All of them left in a flurry. Before they left, they didn't forget to clean up the battlefield. There were also many cultivators who gathered their courage and approached Lin Jun. Boss Lin, when are we going to attack Tianqiong? About 10 days or so. There are still some things to deal with. That's great. If we can really overthrow Tianqiong, I'd rather do it this time. Me too. I've already spent enough time in the stellar fruit tree. Overthrowing Tianqiong can save me at least a year. Perhaps I really have a chance to compress 5 layers and advance to the War God realm before the age of 30. Shaoli, wait for me. Big Brother will come home and marry you soon. The cultivators were very happy. When they looked at Lin Jun again, they didn't feel that terrifying anymore. The fear brought about by the previous massacre was gradually dissipating. The few of them returned to the tree hole. Lin Jun said to the others, "These few days, I will do my best to absorb stellar crystals. Ask the ant nest to send more stellar crystals over. I want to strive to make a breakthrough within 10 days because I feel that Tianqiong might not be able to wait for too long. There will be a result soon. Idle, don't worry. During this time, I promise to get you all the stellar crystals in the hive. The others can understand this. After all, attacking Tianqiong depends mainly on you. And let's do that. I'll probably leave the stellar fruit tree after this matter is completed. What about you guys?" Lin Jun asked his teammates. "I might have to stay here for a while. My Dantian's chi compression is far from enough. I'll wait for you to take down Tianqiong so I can get a special stellar crystal to absorb." Zhang Huai smiled. "Me too. I can't lose to this brat. I heard that for every 10 special stellar crystals in Tianqiong, there will be a twin special stellar crystal. I don't know if I'll have the chance to encounter one," Li Chengjing said. Lu Qingfeng hesitated for a moment. "I don't think I'll stay here for too long. My aptitude is limited. I should be able to finish it within half a year." Zhao Xiaoman was a bit conflicted. "I also want to cultivate for a while, but what if I can't see Big Brother Lin?" "Ha, that's fine. When you come out, Big Brother Lin will give you a welcoming dinner." "A welcoming dinner isn't enough. There's still a cleansing dinner," Zhao Xiaoman said. Lin Jun was stunned. "Isn't that the same thing?" "It's not the same thing. A cleansing dinner is to wash the dust off one's body. When the time comes, Big Brother Lin will wash me personally, okay?" Zhao Xiaoman's eyes had a trace of craftiness. "You little brat, you even dare to tease your big brother. Give up. Your body is dirty. I won't wash it for you." Lin Jun didn't fall for it. He had lived for so long. If he could be teased by Zhao Xiaoman, wouldn't he have lived for nothing? "I'm not dirty. I'll get some water to wash myself every day. They're the dirty ones." Zhao Xiaoman's face was red as she defended herself. Tianqiong, inside the palace's main hall. As soon as they entered the main hall, a long red carpet stretched all the way to the end of the hall. It followed a winding wooden staircase until it reached a large golden chair. The hall was supported by red wooden pillars. Exquisite murals hung on the walls. The surrounding curtains hung low and swayed with the wind. Dong Shunkai stood about 10 meters away from the large chair with his head lowered. On the large chair, a man of about 27 or 28 years old was holding a glass of red wine and slowly sipping it. This person was dressed in casual clothes with exquisite workmanship. This set of clothes would definitely not be out of style in the outside world. This was because it was completely custom-made. This red wine was brought in from outside. There were dozens of boxes. While cultivating, he didn't forget to enjoy good food and wine. When he entered the stellar fruit tree, the spatial rings of the 4 gods of Tianxiong were basically filled with his personal belongings. This was the little overlord, Yufeng. He was a handsome man who was decisive in killing. Shunkai, is what you said true? Yufeng slowly asked. I don't dare to hide it from Tyrant. That Lin Jun is indeed very strong. He killed Hua, Sangtian, and the other 2, and even said that he would come to Tianxiong in the near future. Teleportation. This thing is a little troublesome. At this moment, a voice in the dark asked, Tyrant, should we activate Tianxiong's energy shield? This way, we won't be able to enter or exit. He won't be able to teleport in. We can't activate it for now. The energy shield requires a large amount of star crystals. It's not the most crucial time yet. It's too wasteful. Yufeng stood up and slowly walked down the large chair. He paced on the red carpet and suddenly turned back. How is Mingwei these few days? Don't worry, Tyrant. Everything is under control. Saint Su is fine as usual. However, she seems to be making some mud or something recently. I don't know what it means. Mud? Don't worry about her. Continue to guard her strictly. If you find any signs of her escaping, immediately stop her and inform me. Yes, there are guards in the dark. However, Saintess Su hasn't tried to escape for a long time. She seems to have accepted her fate. If she can accept her fate, I'll be thanking the heavens and earth. I've been treating her with respect for the past 2 years, but she's never given me a good look. She's not even willing to say a word to me. Could it be that Lin Jun is better than me? Seeing Yufeng angry, Dong Shunkai didn't dare to make sound. She lowered her head and didn't move. Suddenly, the shadow guard in the dark said, Tyrant, there's actually a good news. What good news? A week later, Yi Lanshan will advance. At that time, Tyrant will hold a banquet to send her off. Just yesterday, Saintess Su agreed to attend her senior sister's banquet. At that time, she will be sitting at the same table as Tyrant. Oh, there's such a thing? Yufeng turned back and looked at the shadow. Is it true? It's true. Saintess Su has already given the order. Huh, that's not bad. You should know that she has never had a meal with me. Whenever she sees me, she will leave immediately. Being able to have a meal with me this time is already a great improvement. I think Saintess Su has already accepted her fate. After all, a man like Tyrant is a dragon among men. She shouldn't be dissatisfied with anything. Don't be careless. Yi Lanshan will advance in a week. Then, she will have to leave the stellar fruit tree in 3 days. After she leaves, Su Mingwei and I will hold our wedding immediately. The date is set to be 10 days later. At that time, regardless of whether she agrees or not, she can forget about playing any tricks on me. At this time, Dong Shunkai reminded from the side, Tyrant, you still have to be careful of Lin Jun. I heard that he has recently organized those people from the honeycomb ant nest and is preparing to join the Sky Dome. Don't worry. Spread the news. 10 days later, Su Mingwei and I will hold our wedding. All the warriors in the stellar fruit tree can attend. Anyone who comes can join the Sky Dome. Moreover, everyone can receive 5 stellar crystals and 500 million in cash. Also, announce my identity. I want to see if these warriors will still be loyal to Lin Jun. Yes, Tyrant's orders are obeyed. Chapter 188. Inside the honeycomb, Lin Jun sat cross-legged near the huge mound. He never left, regardless of whether it was day or night. Every time a stellar crystal appeared, Lin Jun would immediately pluck it. Those mutated bees could no longer pose a substantial threat to him. In the alternate space, he had already compressed his Dantian Qi to half of the 9-fold Qi. He had to strive to compress his Dantian Qi to the 10-fold level in the next few days. This mound could produce about 25 to 30 stellar crystals every day. Although the effect was not as good as the stellar crystals in the alternate space, it could at least improve his strength. In addition to this, the ant nest was also constantly sending stellar crystals. Every stellar crystal produced in these two places was now used by Lin Jun. Lin Jun had made a rough estimate. He would need about 500 more star crystals to advance to the tenfold level. The honeycomb could produce 300 stellar crystals in 10 days at most, while the ant nest could produce about 100 stellar crystals. Adding these two places together, it would be difficult for him to advance in 10 days. However, there was no other way. Besides these two places, many martialists had entered the forest, hoping to find more stellar crystals for Lin Jun. After all, whether Lin Jun could break through smoothly or not was related to the outcome of the counterattack on the Sky Dome realm. These martialists did not dare to be greedy. They hoped that they could use Lin Jun's rise to power to completely change the situation in the starfruit tree. This included the ant nest. Under the supervision of Brother Guang, Star Ma, and Sun Tai, almost all the martialists went out to search. The task of collecting the ant nest stellar crystals fell into the hands of Jiang Huai and Lu Qingfeng. The two of them were telekinesis masters, so they could travel back and forth very quickly. They were specifically responsible for collecting and transporting the stellar crystals. On the first day, the honeycomb produced 27 stellar crystals, the ant nest produced 9, and the ant nest produced 3. A total of 39 stellar crystals were collected, which Lin Jun absorbed. The second day's harvest was good. The honeycomb produced 31 stellar crystals, the ant nest produced 12, and the ant nest produced 7. A total of 50 stellar crystals were collected. The third day was similar to the second day, with 48 stellar crystals. On the fourth day, the honeycomb and ant nest produced a good amount of stellar crystals. However, only one stellar crystal was collected from the outside. A total of 40 stellar crystals were collected. On the fifth day, the beehive ant nest produced 35 star crystals, but there was not a single star crystal outside. Not only were the star crystals not collected, but many of the cultivators who had gone out to collect star crystals also did not return. Originally, after Lin Jun's reorganization, there were 82 people in the hive and 103 in the ant nest, making a total of 185 people. Other than Lin Jun, who was cultivating, and Jiang Huai and the others who were collecting, the remaining 180 people were all sent out to collect star crystals. However, after 5 days, the total number of people had actually dropped to 140. In other words, 45 people had already left in the past few days. On the night of the 6th day, after absorbing all 37 star crystals, the total number of people in the two places had dropped to 105 when the total number of people was counted. Another 40 people had disappeared. When Jiang Huai and Lu Qingfeng came to deliver the star crystals to Lin Jun, they approached Lin Jun and said, "Idol, something seems wrong." "What's wrong?" "The little overlord of Sky Dome has already spread the news that he is going to hold a wedding with Su Mingyue. Anyone who is willing to go and congratulate them can join Sky Dome. Moreover, they can immediately receive 5 stellar crystals and 500 million in cash. This temptation is too great." In the past few days, many people couldn't resist the temptation and joined. This means that those people who went out have no intention of collecting star crystals. They are all considering whether to join Sky Dome or not. That should be the case. There are only 100 people in the two places now. In another 2 days, I'm afraid there won't even be 50 people left. Hee. Yufeng is really generous. Does he have so much cash to pay? 80 people have gone over in the past few days. That's 40 billion in cash. I don't believe he has the space to store so much cash and bring it into the starfruit tree, Li Changjing said from the side, clearly disdainful of the actions of the other cultivators. Zhao Xiaoman also said, "That's right. Those cultivators won't get any money even if they go. At most, they will get a few star crystals. Why are they so stupid?" Unexpectedly, Lu Qingfeng shook his head. "You're all wrong. As long as Little Overlord agrees, 500 million in cash is nothing. He can even take out tens of billions. In the future, if we ask him for it, he won't go back on his word." "Oh, why do you say that?" Jiang Huai asked. Hee, I just heard about it. You might not know Little Overlord's true identity. Just his identity alone is not enough for him to ruin his reputation. What identity is so powerful? He is the son of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School's master. Don't you think he is powerful? Lu Qingfeng finally revealed the truth. Raging Wind Martial Arts School? Isn't that the #1 martial arts school in the country? The Raging Wind Martial Arts School is the headquarters of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School. The master is the head of the school. Yu Feng is the son of the head of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School. Jiang Huai was stunned. He was from the Magic City's Raging Wind Martial Arts School. Didn't that mean he was also from Yu Feng's martial arts school? Even Lin Jun was stunned. Yu Feng was the son of the head of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School. Zhao Xiaoman was confused. Isn't the head of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School Chun Fenglai, the #1 expert in the world? Is he Yu Feng's father? But why are their surnames different? Before Lu Qingfeng could answer, Jiang Huai said, Chun Fenglai is the founder of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School. He is also the #1 expert in the world. However, he is only the head of the school in name. He no longer cares about anything and has been pursuing the peak of martial arts for a long time. The head of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School is Chun Fenglia's good friend, Yu Jianhua. He took over the position more than 10 years ago. Jiang Huai sighed. Some people might be able to resist the temptation of money, but after hearing Little Overlord's identity, who would dare to go against him? After all, they would still have to leave the stellar fruit tree in the future. Offending the Raging Wind Martial Arts School is the same as courting death. They would be lucky if they didn't attack us immediately, let alone Tianxiong. Zhao Xiaoman glanced at Jiang Huai. You are also a member of the Raging Wind Martial Arts School. Do you have such thoughts? Jiang Huai hurriedly raised his hand. Don't frame me. But to be honest, if I wasn't with Boss Lin, I might have stood aside and watched. But since it's him, I'll fight with him until the end. Lin Jin nodded slightly. Then he said to Jiang Huai, What's the situation outside? What else can it be? People's hearts are unstable. You can tell from the fact that not a single star crystal has been collected in the past few days. Li Changjing said, These people are also conflicted. They want to overthrow Tianxiong's rule, but they are also afraid of Little Overlord's power and are tempted by money. Even if these people go on stage, it is hard to say how much strength they will be able to display. Lin Jin thought for a moment before standing up. Since it is like this, then there's a need to go out and talk about it. After speaking, Lin Jin stood up and left the hive. Jiang Huai and the others didn't know what was going on, so they followed closely behind Lin Jin. Lin Jin walked all the way to the hive's tree hollow area. The remaining dozens of hive martial artists were still gathered here in groups of 2s and 3s. It was unknown what they were talking about. When they saw Lin Jin arrive, they all stood up, but their expressions were a little awkward. Lin Jin stood in front of the crowd. He cleared his throat and said, Everyone, I've heard about what has happened over the past few days. I won't say anything unnecessary. Everyone has different personalities, pursuits, and paths to take are different. I respect everyone's choices. Some cultivators seem to want to say something, but Lin Jun waved his hand to stop them. No need to say anything. I will give everyone a choice. If you're willing to go to Tianxiong, you can leave now. Lin Jun will not stop you. The cultivators present looked at each other. After hesitating for a while, someone moved first. After one person left, others followed one after another. Some cultivators came to Lin Jun before leaving. Lin Jun, it is not that we don't support you, but this matter is beyond the scope of our abilities. You can continue to cultivate in the hive. After we leave, we will not go to Tianxiong. We will wait for you to leave before coming back. Lin Jun nodded slightly. It was already very good that they didn't help either side. Many cultivators chose to go to Tianxiong, but there were also about 34 people who left the hive. In any case, this matter would come to an end soon. No matter what the end result was, they should still have a place to cultivate. Whether it was Little Overlord Yu Feng or Lin Jun, their cultivation had almost reached the peak. They didn't have much time left in the stellar fruit tree. In less than 10 minutes, all the cultivators in the hive had left. At this time, Lin Jin looked at Jiang Huai and Lu Qingfeng. You two go to the ant nest again and repeat what I said. Starma probably doesn't want anyone to leave. It's useless to force them to stay. Jiang Huai and Lu Qingfeng nodded and went to the ant nest. After that, Li Changjing and Zhao Xiaoman accompanied Lin Jun, worried that Lin Jun would be unhappy. However, Lin Jun didn't care at all. He returned to the hive and continued to absorb star crystals. The next day, Jiang Huai came back and told Lin Jun that the people in the ant nest had left. Only Lu Qingfeng, Star Ma, Brother Guang, and a few others were still there. Even Sun Tai had left. Lin Jun nodded. After absorbing a star crystal, he raised his head and looked up. Above the layers of branches was Qinxiong. Today should be the day that Yu Feng is going to send Yilan Shan off, Lin Jun suddenly said. Yes, it seems quite lively in Tianqiu. The banquet should be starting soon. Jiang Huai sat beside Lin Jun. The hive was empty, and only the bees were still tirelessly buzzing. Yilan Shan will probably leave the stellar fruit tree tomorrow or the day after tomorrow at the latest, Lin Jun said, then turned to his teammates. Tomorrow, I will leave the hive tomorrow and head to Tianqiu. Okay, let's go together. Everyone agreed. No. Chapter 189. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Jiang Huai and the others were stunned. Idle why? We're not afraid of the little overlord. Big brother Lin, we're teammates. How can we let you take the risk alone? Boss Lin, we can't listen to you this time. Li Changjing still want to meet Sky Dome's experts. Lin Jun smiled. I know you guys don't want to fight alone, but this time I have to go alone. If too many people go, it will affect my actions. Jiang Huai and the others fell silent. Lin Jun's words made a lot of sense. He had the ability to appear and disappear unpredictably, and no one in the stellar fruit tree could do anything to him. If they followed him, not only would they not be of any help, they might even become a hindrance or even a burden to Lin Jun. Seeing their depressed expressions, Lin Jun comforted them with a few words. You guys don't have to worry about anything. If I want to leave, no one can stop me. You guys can stay here for almost 3 days. After 3 days, I think the stellar fruit tree will be completely different. After saying this, Lin Jun didn't say anything else. Instead, he soared into the air and once again collected a stellar crystal from the hive. He sat down and began to absorb it. Jiang Huai and the others finally agreed with Lin Jun's suggestion. This time, they really couldn't help much. Sky Dome's palace complex had never been so lively. In the past, when Sky Dome's population was at its peak, there were no more than 200 people. Old cultivators left, and new cultivators came in. Year after year, the number never increased. Maintaining this number was just enough to ensure the supply of star crystals in Sky Dome. If there were more people, the supply of star crystals would be somewhat insufficient. But today, the little overlord had spoken. The stellar crystals in Sky Dome were plucked in large batches and given to the cultivators who came. Ever since Yu Feng released the news, it spread throughout the stellar fruit tree as if it had grown wings. The beehive martial artists, the ant nest martial artists, and many wandering martial artists all came to the Sky Dome one after another. Everyone who came here could immediately receive 5-star crystals and a receipt signed by Yu Feng. As long as you could leave the stellar fruit tree, you could take this receipt to the Gale Martial Arts School in the capital Bay City to receive 500 million in cash. In order to ensure the authenticity of this matter, a warrior even left the stellar fruit tree a few days in advance to inform the Lai Feng dojo in the capital Bay City. Then, Lai Feng even wrote a reply letter, which was sent to the platform by a staff member of the Divine General's training camp. It said that anyone with Yu Feng's signature could go to the Gale Martial Arts School in the capital Bay City to get 500 million in cash. This reply was binding and effective. It had the seal of the Strong Wind Martial Arts School and was under the supervision of the Warrior Union. It was posted at the entrance of the Sky Dome Martial Arts School. With this guarantee, the warriors were even more enthusiastic about joining the Sky Dome Martial Arts School. In just a few days, the number of people in the Sky Dome Martial Arts School had increased from 200 to 450. According to calculations, there were no more than 500 people in the stellar fruit tree. Therefore, most of the people had already come here. As for the dozens of people who didn't come, there was nothing to be afraid of. At most, they wouldn't help either side. Behind the main hall of the palace, there was an upward branch with a spiral staircase. Following the spiral staircase, there was a door about 100 meters away. Inside was an open room. Rays of sunlight shone down from above. In the middle of the room was a branch with a dozen blooming flowers. There was a fiery red star crystal on the flower and a dozen stellar crystals around it. The star crystal wasn't big. It was red and looked like a burning flame floating above the flower. At this moment, Yufeng was sitting in front of the flower, looking at the star crystal. Sun primordial fire crystal, you will mature tonight. As long as I absorb you, I will be able to become a warlord. After that, Mingyue, you will be mine. This star crystal was located at the top of the stellar fruit tree. It absorbed sunlight and became a special star crystal. It contained powerful fire energy. Yufeng hadn't made any progress in the past 2 years because he was waiting for this star crystal to mature. His Dantian Qi was already at the limit of 9-fold compression. As long as he absorbed one more star crystal, he would be able to become a warlord. He had already absorbed speed, strength, and spirit energy. If he absorbed this sun primordial fire crystal, Yufeng had reason to believe that he would become an outstanding warlord. Everyone in the stellar fruit tree could only tremble in front of him, even if Lin Zhan was so powerful. When Yi Lanshan brought Su Mingyue here, Yufeng had taken a liking to her. In fact, when they were in the capital Bay City, Yufeng had already liked Su Mingyue, who had just become a saintess. However, at that time, Su Mingyue was only 14 or 15 years old and had just become a saintess. Yufeng then entered the stellar fruit tree and didn't succeed. He didn't expect to see her again in the stellar fruit tree. In order to please Su Mingyue, he casually let Su Mingyue absorb the star crystal, hoping that she would like him. Unfortunately, Su Mingyue seemed to have someone else in her heart, which made Yufeng very angry. He wanted to force her, but Yi Lanshan didn't allow it. She said that if he really liked Su Mingyue, it would be best to get Su Mingyue to agree. Otherwise, as a senior sister, she would never allow such a thing to happen. Yufeng had no choice but to endure it for now. However, he didn't expect Su Mingyue's talent to be no worse than his. 2 years later, she was even about to complete the 9-fold compression, which was the same as his. Moreover, she was lucky enough to find a radiant star crystal in the harem a few days ago. After absorbing it, Yufeng was even more afraid. If it wasn't a fight to the death, he didn't have the confidence to suppress Su Mingyue. However, he didn't want to fight to the death either. However, if he absorbed this star crystal and became a warlord, then Su Mingyue would have no choice but to surrender. Lin Zhan, you better not disappoint me and not come back. Only by killing you will Mingyue completely give up. As Yufeng spoke, he unconsciously rubbed the edge of space ring on his hand. He brought the ring in a few years ago. The space inside was several times bigger than the space rings on the market. It was also from the ancient god ruins. There was a snake on the surface of the ring. The snake's tongue was slightly sticking out. In fact, that tongue was his strongest weapon, Star Strike. Yufeng never dared to touch that snake's tongue, because that thing would lock onto a person as long as it was stained with their blood. It could launch a fatal attack within 100 kilometers. It was a one-time use. After staying here for a while, Yufeng felt that it was almost time for the banquet to start. Only then did he leave the room and go to the main hall. The main hall was now filled with more than 10 tables of banquet. Although the dishes weren't as rich as the outside world, they still had a different taste. The front of every table was filled with people. These people were all martial artists who had compressed Dantian Qi and above. These people were all old people in Skydome. The new martial artists outside weren't qualified to enter the main hall. When they saw Yufeng enter, they all greeted him. Great Conqueror, you look good today. Great Conqueror is in high spirits. After sending Yi Lanshan away and marrying a beauty, he's a real winner in life. Everyone says that Great Conqueror's fiancée is as beautiful as a fairy. We haven't seen her yet. Is it really that exaggerated? You came to the stellar fruit tree later. It's normal that you haven't seen her. I'm from the previous batch of Saint Lady Sue. I was lucky enough to see her once. I still miss her. Lower your voice. If Great Conqueror hears you, he'll beat you to death. However, Yufeng didn't have time to care about these martial artists. He sat at the table in the center of the front. He was restless and kept looking at the door until a martial artist ran in. The moment he came in, he said to Yufeng, "Great Conqueror, he's here. Okay, hurry up and welcome him." As he spoke, Yufeng stood up. Two women walked in from the door. One of them was Yilan Shan. She was wearing a gorgeous brocade today. Coupled with the fact that she had just broken through to the war god realm, she looked radiant. She was also a beauty, but she looked a few years younger. She was very eye-catching. However, everyone's eyes weren't on her. Instead, they were on Su Mingyue, who was wearing a crystal white robe. She looked elegant like a fairy from the moon god. Su Mingyue was still wearing a white divine official robe. Her long hair hung down from her ears. She didn't wear any makeup. Her white, jade-like face was picturesque. There was no part of her that wasn't beautiful. She easily attracted everyone's attention. Yilan Shan chuckled in Su Mingyue's ear. "If you didn't insist on seeing me off, I wouldn't be willing to walk with you. You made me look like an ugly duckling." "Senior sister, you're making fun of me again." "Hee hee, I won't make fun of you. But why have you been sneaking around these days? You've been gathering mud and a military rock. What are you doing?" "It's a secret." Su Mingyue smiled. "Wretched girl, when you obtained a radiant star crystal a few days ago, you were acting mysteriously. I heard that out of every 10 special star crystals, one of them is a twin. Could it be that you obtained the twin star crystal and hid it from your senior sister? Now that you're acting like this, I'm not going to be nice with you." The two women came to the main seat. Yilan Shan said to Yufeng, "Overlord, where are our seats?" "Oh, I've already prepared them. Come and sit." There were 4 seats on the table. Yufeng sat on one. Dong Shinkai sat across from Yufeng. As for the remaining 2 seats, no matter what Su Mingyue chose, she would have to sit next to Yufeng. In the end, Yilan Shan sat on the left, and Su Mingyue sat on the right. This was the first time Su Mingyue sat next to Yufeng. He couldn't help but feel a little lightheaded. Picking up his wine cup, he asked Yilan Shan and Su Mingyue, "Do you want to drink some wine?" Yilan Shan could drink, but he had never seen Su Mingyue drink before. He didn't expect that Su Mingyue would actually nod. This made Yufeng very happy. He quickly poured a cup for Su Mingyue. Dong Shinkai also poured a cup for Yilan Shan. "Come, let us all congratulate our Miss Yi for becoming a war god. Everyone, let's toast her." Everyone present loudly agreed. They all raised their cups and drank a cup. Su Mingyue seemed to be in a bad mood because her senior sister was leaving. She actually took the initiative to get the wine. Yufeng didn't even have time to curry favor. He quickly reached out his hand. "Mingyue, let me get it for you." Chapter 190. After drinking another cup of wine, Yilan Shan looked at Su Mingyue and asked, "Mingyue, what's wrong?" Su Mingyue raised her head and said, "Nothing, senior sister. I think I'm a bit tired. I'll go back and rest. I won't see you off when you leave." "Oh, all right, you rest early. You don't have to see me off. I'll leave soon. Maybe we'll meet outside in a few days." Yufeng stared blankly at Su Mingyue as she stood up and left. He then asked Yilan Shan, "Did I do something wrong?" "No, you did very well. Maybe it's because I'm leaving today and Mingyue isn't in a good mood." "Oomph. What do you mean by not in a good mood?" "It's all because of that Lin Jun. Tyrant. I think Mingyue will recognize reality. Give her some time." Yufeng waved his hand and said, "No need to say more. I've already given her a lot of time. These 2 years, I've been very considerate to her. I've never forced her to do anything. I even let her absorb the star crystals in Sky Dome freely. However, she's never even looked at me. Today, she left after drinking 2 cups of wine because she didn't want to see me. Since she hates me so much, I don't need to be too accommodating." Yilan Shan sighed. "Forget it. I don't want to care about your matters anymore. Anyway, I'm going to leave. After I became a war god, I felt that the chi in my body was starting to be rejected by the stellar fruit tree. Staying here makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'll bid farewell to Mingyue and leave the stellar fruit tree." "You're leaving in such a hurry?" "Yeah, I wanted to stay a bit longer, but I can't stand it after such a short time. This place is really not a place for a war god. Tyrant, thank you for your hospitality. I'll leave now. Yilan Shan was indeed very uncomfortable. After becoming a war god, the chi in her dantian evolved and rejected the energy in the starfruit tree. She felt like she couldn't breathe if she stayed a bit longer. She hurriedly said goodbye to Yufeng and went to the harem. Yufeng didn't send her off. He drank a cup of wine and said to Dong Shankai and the others, I'll go into seclusion tonight. You guys prepare yourselves. I'll definitely become a war god before tomorrow morning. We'll hold the wedding then. The surrounding people were stunned. Then they all started cheering. Congratulations, congratulations. Not only will you become a war god, you'll also have a wedding, and we'll have wine to drink again. The Overlord marrying the Saintess will definitely be a good story for the stellar fruit tree. Everyone, let's get moving early tomorrow. Let's see if Overlord still needs anything. We'll buy everything for him. We must let Overlord have a wonderful night. Yufeng smirked and said, Actually, we don't lack anything. The only thing we lack is a guest. If he doesn't come, this wedding won't be as interesting as it used to be. Who do you need? Most of the people in the starfruit tree should be here. Yufeng drank a cup of wine. Lin Jun. The surrounding people didn't say anything. The Saintess liked Lin Jun. This wasn't a secret. The Saintess and Lin Jun were together when they were in the ant nest. Some even said that the Saintess couldn't sleep without being hugged by Lin Jun. No one knew if it was true or not. However, this matter involved the tyrant's face. No one dared to say anything. They were afraid that they would offend the tyrant and bring disaster upon themselves. After a moment of silence, a warrior finally said loudly, Tyrant, who does Lin Jun think he is? Just look at the cultivators lining up outside to receive their star crystals and receipts. Sure enough, your idea was brilliant. All you had to do was announce your name and give them some small favors. And these people would all submit to you. Lin Jun's wings were so easily broken by you. Let's see how he can continue to struggle. That's right. These people have taken the star crystals and receipts, so they have to listen to the tyrant. When the time comes, the tyrant will tell them to do whatever he wants them to do. Lin Jun will have to go through them first. A bunch of brainless idiots. Do you think it's so easy to get 500 million? If Lin Jun really has the courage to come to Sky Dome, then they will be cannon fodder. As for Yufeng giving the other warriors 500 million, he had already told the people of Sky Dome. In Yufeng's opinion, even though they had received receipts, once a battle broke out, these people would be the vanguard to deal with Lin Jun. Another warrior said, but the tyrant's worries are reasonable. In this case, I'm afraid that Lin Jun won't come. If this kid hides and sends out these receipts, these warriors will go to live phone and ask for a large sum of money in the future. Yes, if we can catch Lin Jun and let him come here to see the tyrant and the Saintess get married and enter the bridal chamber, that would be great. At this time, a warrior ran in from outside and came to Yufeng's table. Tyrant, that Lin Jun ran away. Ran away? Where did he go? Didn't he vow that he would come to Sky Dome? I don't know. After all the warriors left the hive yesterday, only Lin Jun and a few of his buddies were left. I don't know what Lin Jun said to those people. He was still there last night, but he didn't appear this morning. I don't know where he went. Yufeng pondered for a moment. He couldn't have left the stellar fruit tree, right? That's not clear. But if he came here, he should have arrived a long time ago. But he didn't appear. I don't think he will come here. Hearing this, Yufeng sneered and drank the wine in one gulp. Then, he crushed the wine glass. Humph. He ran fast, but I believe he's still nearby. The wedding will be held tomorrow, as usual. Lin Jun, you won't come now, right? Tomorrow, you won't be able to come even if you want to. You could just watch me marry Su Mingyue from outside Sky Dome. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The situation in Sky Dome didn't affect Lin Jun. He had been in the hive for 7 days and had absorbed a total of 400 star crystals. He was still 100 away from the Dantian Chi 10th layer compression. He estimated that he would be able to advance to the 10th layer in 3 days. However, he couldn't continue to stay in the hive. If he waited another 3 days, it would be too late. So last night, Lin Jun left the hive. Now, the stellar fruit tree had plenty of star crystals besides the hive, ant nest, and Sky Dome. However, Lin Jun didn't go to Sky Dome immediately. Instead, he went to Tree Heart Lake. Tree Heart Lake was located in the center of the stellar fruit tree, while Sky Dome was above Tree Heart Lake, above the treetops of the stellar fruit tree. When he arrived at Tree Heart Lake, Lin Jun stepped on his shield and flew straight to the center of the lake. Lin Jun had wondered why there was only one special star crystal in this place when he came to pick up the Mind Power Star Crystal. He hadn't thought about it carefully before. However, after seeing the Space-Time Wanderer flower, Lin Jun vaguely felt that there should be a companion star crystal around the special star crystal. However, the water level in Tree Heart Lake was relatively high at that time. Lin Jun had been chased by the insect swarm at that time. He had run away after picking up the special star crystal from a distance and hadn't observed it carefully. Therefore, when he thought of this and left the hive, he immediately came to Tree Heart Lake. The buzzing insects from the sea, land, and air around him followed Lin Jun. However, they were left behind by Lin Jun after a few teleportations. Lin Jun eventually attracted the sea, land, and air in the center of Tree Heart Lake far away. Then, he came to the branch that was still above the water. The branch in the center of Tree Heart Lake is definitely not simple. Lin Jun landed on the branch and looked down carefully. Sure enough, under the rippling water surface, there were 30 to 40 flowers that were blooming in the water. The specks of starlight were covered by the ripples. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have been discovered. There's really something here. This Mind Power flower is blooming in the water. These aquatic star crystals must contain a lot of energy. It's just enough to help me break through to Tier 10. Lin Jun sat down and scooped up a stellar crystal in the water. After absorbing one, Lin Jun realized that the power of this stellar crystal was indeed not bad. Although it wasn't as strong as the ones in the spatial rift, it was close to maturity. One of them was almost equivalent to 3 of the ones that had just appeared. Lin Jun did a rough count. There were 33 stellar crystals here. 33. Hopefully, it'll help me break through to Tier 10. Lin Jun spent an entire day and night in the center of Tree Heart Lake. 33 stellar crystals allowed Lin Jun's strength to make another breakthrough, reaching the peak of 9 layers compression. There's no more. 1 stellar crystal here is equivalent to 3 of the beehive's crystals. 33 stellar crystals are equivalent to 99 stellar crystals. As long as there's one more, I can probably break through to Tier 10. Should I go look for another one? Lin Jun was somewhat unsatisfied. Unfortunately, there were no more stellar crystals here. If he want to look for more, he might have to return to the beehive or the ant nest. That would waste a lot of time. Taking out his phone to check the time, Lin Jun found that it was already 10:30 in the morning. Not good. Today is the day that Yu Feng is going to marry Mingwei. According to the wedding customs, it'll start at 11. I can't wait any longer. My current strength is enough. I should go to Sky Dome. Lin Jun stood up from the branch and stretched his body. He felt that the qi in his dantian was surging. The dark star was surrounded by lightning. It was full of energy. His dantian was like a cup full of water. As long as a drop of water was poured in, the water in the cup would overflow. He was about to break through. Lin Jun raised his head and looked at the top of Tree Heart Lake. Sky Dome is above Tree Heart Lake. I can't take a detour. I'll just go through here. Lin Jun's current telekinesis teleportation couldn't allow him to move too far in one go. The stronger one's mind, the greater the range of teleportation. However, with Lin Jun's early dark gold mind, it was easy for him to teleport within a range of a few dozen meters. Lin Jun threw a shield into the air. It was thrown 30 meters high. With his telekinesis, Lin Jun appeared on top of the shield. Whoosh! Chapter 191. Within the Sky Dome, the wedding was about to begin. Everyone was already in place, including the master of ceremonies, those who were preparing to set off firecrackers, those who were decorating the auditorium, and even warriors who were slightly knowledgeable in music had prepared bands and singers. On Su Mingyue's side, only Dong Shinkai was there, because there were no other female warriors here. Since yesterday, Dong Shinkai had been accompanying her, and in fact, was also secretly monitoring her. There were also some people who had prepared the groom's attire and were waiting under the tree trunk behind the main hall. It was said that Yufeng had already advanced to the war god realm and would come out after stabilizing his realm. The Gate of Heaven was the entrance to the Sky Dome. It was located in front of the palace complex, and all the new warriors were gathered here. These cultivators each received 5-star crystals and a promissory note worth 500 million star crystals. Now, they were all dead set on following Tianqiu. It's still better inside. The air outside can't be compared to here. Isn't that so? There's also the sunlight. It's so warm when the sunlight shines on my body. I was really blinded in the past. I actually stayed in the ant nest for so long. The ant nest is still okay. You don't know the beehive. The bees there are even more annoying than flies. I didn't think much of it when I stayed there for 2 years, but now that I think about it, oh my God, that place is simply hell. I won't go back even if you beat me to death. You all came from the beehive and the ant nest, so you all know Lin Jun, right? I've never interacted with this person before. How is he? The warriors from the beehive and the ant nest were silent for a moment. Then someone said, "He's not bad, but he's far from the Overlord's straightforwardness." That's right. Who can compare to the Overlord? The Overlord is the young master of the capital city's live phone. And what is Lin Jun? He's just a student of the Ice City's live phone. The two of them can't be compared at all. Then if Lin Jun comes to ruin the wedding today, what do you plan to do? Another warrior asked. There were quite a few warriors from the hive here. Hearing this, some of them didn't say anything, but there were still some who spoke up. There's no need to talk about this anymore. The Overlord has already given the order. If Lin Jun comes, he will most likely pass through this gate of heaven first. Our mission is to stop Lin Jun and not let him pass. We have received the Overlord's favor. If Lin Jun dares to come, he will be our enemy. But I heard that Lin Jun is very strong, and he has a method of teleportation. Can we stop him? At this moment, a warrior who is a Sky Dome martial artist spoke up. You don't have to worry about this. Lin Jun's instant transmission definitely won't be able to cross the Divine Gate. Young Master has already made arrangements for this. What kind of setup can block Blink? Haha, you're underestimating the heavens. How can the wooden palaces here not decay after hundreds of years? Apart from maintenance, how can they withstand the wind and rain? You'll see it soon. It's probably going to be activated soon. Activate what? Something from the ancient god ruins, an energy shield. Yes, an energy shield. It's a shield supported by star crystals. It was brought in by the previous Sky Lord a long time ago. It can completely isolate the aura of the outside world. Without aura communication, don't even think about teleporting in. Only the Divine Gate is weaker. When the time comes, all of you just have to guard the Divine Gate. If that's the case, then there's definitely no problem. With so many of us gathered in front of the Divine Gate, Lin Jun can't kill us from behind. What's there to be afraid of? These warriors had received benefits. In addition, most of them hadn't seen Lin Jun's instant transmission before, so they were full of confidence. Okay, then you guys stay here and guard. I'm going in. With that, the warrior walked into the Divine Gate. Then, in less than a minute, countless light pillars suddenly rose from the ground. Then, the light pillars began to radiate, quickly forming a sphere that actually enveloped the entire Sky Dome. The only entrance and exit was the Divine Gate. The original Divine Gate was overflowing with light and color. It was also wrapped in a layer of energy shield, but it looked much weaker than the other places. Okay, this time, we won't go out or enter. Our mission is to wait here until the Overlord succeeds. Only then can we open the Sky Dome again. I'm so envious. Why is his life so good? He's talented, strong, and has a good father. He can even marry the Saintess. His future is limitless. Don't be envious. Even if you're envious, it's useless. Let's just guard this place firmly. In a few days, the Overlord and the others will probably leave the Stellar Fruit Tree. At this time, there was movement in the Sky Dome. The warriors all looked inside. Although the wedding hadn't officially started yet, and the main characters hadn't appeared, the preparations were already in place. A white Leicester wedding car slowly drove out and waited for orders. This thing was actually brought in by Yufeng from outside. His spatial ring was big enough, so it wasn't a problem to bring in the car. Originally, the warriors of the Sky Dome were all dressed in black suits. They looked like humans and dogs. They gathered in the square in front of the main hall in twos and threes. The person in charge of the ceremony was called Ding Sheng. He was Yu Feng's guard. He also came to the stellar fruit tree with Yu Feng and the four gods of the Sky Dome. He was very strong. It was said that he had completed the 9-layer compression a long time ago. Later, he was specially appointed by Yu Feng to guard Su Mingyue. He was responsible for secretly preventing Su Mingyue from escaping. Su Mingyue did try to escape a few times, but she failed. She was defeated by Ding Sheng. After a few consecutive failures, Su Mingyue seemed to have accepted her fate. She didn't try to escape anymore. Until today, Ding Sheng was still watching outside the harem. Sometimes he could vaguely see two women in the room. They were Su Mingyue and Dong Xinkai. After Yi Lanshan left, there was no third female warrior in the Sky Dome. However, he wasn't allowed to get too close to the harem. Yu Feng was also very jealous. Su Mingyue's charm was too great. He didn't feel at ease letting other men get too close to her. Ding Sheng didn't feel at ease until the Sky Dome's barrier opened. He left to be the host. Now, even if Su Mingyue wanted to leave, she couldn't. Before he left, he called out Dong Xinkai. "How is Miss Mingyue's preparation?" "It's almost done. The red wedding dress and red veil are all put on. We can go out at any time." "Okay, then I'll go. Get ready in a while." Ding Sheng ordered, then got up and left the harem. He went straight to the square in front of the main hall. By the time they arrived, all the martial artists had already arrived. Each of them looked like guests as they toasted each other. Usually, the alcohol here was limited and ordinary people would not be able to drink it. Today was the day of the tyrant's wedding, and everyone wanted to drink to their heart's content. Ding Sheng came and took the prepared microphone. "Everyone, it's almost time. Please be quiet." The warriors in the square stopped and looked at Ding Sheng. Love is always a song passed down through the ages. Today we are gathered here to witness an epic wedding. Ding Sheng started with an opening speech. He was quite eloquent. Although he couldn't be compared to the real hosts outside, it wasn't easy to find someone like him who practiced martial arts. "It's almost time. Let's get ready to welcome the two newlyweds." Firecrackers crackled. They really didn't know where these things came from. The band started to play, and the singer started to sing affectionately. At this time, someone ran to Ding Sheng. "Mr. Ding, the tyrant is at the critical moment of his breakthrough. It will take a while." "Oh, but it's already time. The tyrant asked you to do it at your discretion. He might be here in 20 minutes, at most half an hour." "Okay, then let the bride come out first. They are already here." Ding Sheng took the microphone. "The tyrant is at the critical moment of his breakthrough. He'll be here a while. Let's welcome our beautiful bride." People applauded enthusiastically. Then, they saw Dong Xinkai walking out from the side of the main hall with a woman in a red wedding dress and a red veil on her head. This was according to Yu Feng's request. He said he wanted to enjoy the moment when he lifted Su Mingyue's red veil, so he made this dress. Dong Xinkai helped the bride to the main hall and looked at Ding Sheng. "Where is the tyrant?" "He'll be here soon. Since you're already here, just wait here for a while." "Is Miss Su okay?" Su Mingyue shook her head slightly. Her red veil swayed, so no one could see her face clearly. The singer was singing, trying to delay the time, waiting for the tyrant to come out. The cultivators below were also waiting. They glanced at Su Mingyue from time to time, thinking that the red wedding dress design was a bit of a failure. It didn't show off Holy Maiden Su's figure at all. In the past, when Holy Maiden Su casually stood there, her small figure, small waist, and long legs could not be concealed even if she was wearing a priest's robe. However, when compared to this red dress, it was a bit inferior. Who knew which low-level fellow designed this dress? TSK, the reeds are green and the dew is frost. The so-called beauty is on the other side of the water. I can't see my goddess through this shield. It's useless. The only thing you can do is watch the gate of heaven. After you leave the starfruit tree, take 500 million in cash and go for a massage. 1,000 yuan per session. You can do it 500,000 times. Go away. 1,000 yuan is for normal people. I want to go for 3,000 yuan per session. You're so useless. 3,000 yuan per session is enough to tire you to death. At this moment, Ding Sheng suddenly shouted, "The tyrant is here!" Yufeng finally walked out. He was also wearing a red wedding dress and strode over. From his pace, one could see the urgency in his heart. The tyrant has become a war god. So domineering. He's really invincible this time. Su Mingwei can't run away. The warriors outside the gate of heaven squeezed forward to see what was going on. A warrior behind felt someone pulling him and waved his hand impatiently. "What are you pulling for? Don't stop me from watching the show."